Did I stutter?
He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy
is on the line with us today. It is Monday, baby, coming off of a huge weekend in Baylor athletics, J.D. Oh, my goodness. Does it get any bigger than this? You're looking at March 1st, a new month, turning the page, springtime. Inject it in my veins.
Man, staring down the barrel of not only the Big 12 tournament, March Madness, spring football, outdoor tennis season. Come on, man. What else do you want? It's up-tempo. It's blue collar. It's for the people. It's by the people. Let's roll.
Oh, baby. Hey, we're working with a very interesting setup today. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, everybody's been kind of thrown for a loop in their setup today, but we're back. We're rolling. We got the show going. We got 4 guests today. How about it? Because we can't take callers. And it's typically not my show, and it's typically not your show, and it's usually never Armstrong's show. But today, guess what?
Is it Armstrong's show today?
It's Armstrong's show today. It is Armstrong's show today. No callers. Can't take callers, but the Impact Health, the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line is open. 254-339-1122. The question of the day today is, how will Baylor men's basketball fare in their last 3 games this season? And not only that, we got our Big 12 mascot madness between number 1, Cyclone, number 2, Mountaineer.
I love it. And if it had to be any one show out of the 3 of us, I think Armstrong, given his background in film, given what he's given to this program, and given what he's getting back from this program, being gainfully employed full time, it just makes sense. It's Armstrong's show. But we'll find a way. That's all we do, man. Is find a way. The blue collar show.
I feel like Armstrong's done enough for this to be a show at this point. That Armstrong has earned the right for Uptempo to be his show, at least for one day.
I don't know about that.
Is that Armstrong? I didn't know you were still there.
I am still here. And I don't know. I don't know about all this.
We'll have to source that later. Armstrong being here this weekend.
We can crowdsource it.
Did you see big news? So I wanted to hit the highlights of this weekend on top of the show, and I don't think we have time. We need a 4-hour show, which I keep asking. I keep saying, hey, bosses who love us and have hired us on this network, can we please have a 6-hour show? And no one said yes yet. And so here we are.
Can't imagine
3 hours. Can't imagine why. In our 3-hour show. And here's where I want to start. I want to start in kind of an unconventional place. Did you see Casey Lightfoot? We know Casey Lightfoot. Casey Lightfoot is a regular. Did you see Casey Lightfoot won the Big 12 championship in pole vault for the 3rd straight year?
Do you think he was surprised, or do you think he was just bored? Do you think he just showed up, collected his hardware, was like, all right, well, another one of these for the mantle?
Because in track, you don't have to jump until you want to jump. Like, they keep raising the bar, and you can be like, I'm good. I don't want to jump.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So, like, if they put it at 5 meters, he can obviously jump that. So he'll be like, no, I don't want to waste a jump. Like, everybody else is jumping their 5 meters. He's waiting. So, like, the thing gets to, like, 7, 8 meters, and he's like, all right, I'll win the Big 12 championship now. And then goes out there and just nails it. Not literally.
Imagine that conversation on the runway. They're like, so, Casey, you going to jump? He's like, what is that? 5'5"? No, probably not. But you go ahead. Okay,
not me.
Well, this is my PR. Somebody give it a try.
And then he wins the Big 12 championship.
Johnny Longpole's down there trying to jump.
Not only did Casey Lightfoot win the Big 12 championship, the women's 4x400 meter won the Big 12 championship. That was flipping insane. Aaliyah Miller, we had her on the show. She won a Big 12 championship individually in, I think, the 800. So, hey, Baylor Bears all around in track doing well. Outside of that, equestrian. We talked about what happened with the equestrian team.
I don't know if that shows up on this, but I think.
Yeah, it does. I can hear it. All the horses got COVID.
Yeah, man. Bad news. Are you joking or are you being serious?
I'm joking. Very much. I don't know if horses can get COVID, but they canceled both of their meets this weekend against TCU and Oklahoma State due to, I don't know if they released exactly what it was due to, but it sounds like it was possibly disease related. So no equestrian meet this weekend. Softball, the softball team, ya boy, welcome. Wow. That's a big weekend this weekend, 3-2 overall. They beat UConn 5-0 on day one. Then they lost to Ole Miss 10-4, right? So 1-1 split. Then they lost to UConn the next day. UConn came out just a firing, but they beat Lamar. They mercy ruled Lamar going into their Sunday game against Mississippi State, number 25, Mississippi State, and they won it 10-6. Baylor softball wins the Lone Star State Invitational. I don't know if wins as counts, but they won more than they lost, and that counts for something.
How about it? How about it, man? And how about it for yourself being able to cover them so closely, man? I want to ask you, how's the gig so far? You got the first weekend under your belt. Like, does it feel – I mean, it's probably fun to cover winter softball.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Softball's flipping awesome. I've always been a big softball fan for as long as I can live. And so getting to do that and be at the softball games it was surreal almost watching softball this weekend. And they're really good. They fell against UConn. Losing to Ole Miss makes sense. Ole Miss is a pretty good program. They got a new head coach who took Minnesota to the World Series, but the UConn loss was tough. UConn got hot on Saturday, but hey, you bounce back. You beat the number 25 team in the country. And how about baseball knocking off Auburn on Saturday? So baseball loses a series to UT Rio Grande Valley, UTRGV, and you think, not good. This is not good. Baseball, this is not good. They're going to get swept in Round Rock. And they didn't. They beat Auburn 12-6. They put a whooping on the War Eagles.
And Auburn's a good team. I mean, we talked all about, you said it, Rio Grande Valley giving them a scare, dropped that series. But for them to bounce back the way they did, have the Bats Be Live score 12 runs, I mean, this team has a lot under the hood, and they showed that against this game, or in this game against Auburn. So I think we're all kind of hitting the panic button a little bit. But again, COVID, polar vortex, just weird circumstances. Good to see them getting back into the swing of things and show what they have, again, with that horsepower with the bats.
Other games for baseball, they ended up losing on Friday in their opener against Texas A&M. The final score of that one was 12-4. And then on Sunday, they fell to number 25, Oklahoma, 9-3. But they won that game on Saturday against Auburn. Hang your hat. Maybe the toughest team they played, and they beat the absolute crap out of them. So great. Yeah, hats off to Steve Rodriguez and the baseball team this weekend. Hats off. That's a pun intended. Also, over the weekend, volleyball. Did you see those guys? Swept North Texas and then beat Pepperdine 3-2. The same Pepperdine team that had just swept number 12 BYU.
Like I said, they play a little bit of volleyball down there on the West Coast. For them to show up in a game against Pepperdine, for them to have a sweep, get the brooms out, it's gotta feel good, man. It's gotta feel good for the girls hitting back on the. I always lose track of the volleyball season, but it's good to see them back in action.
Sweep it away. Sweep it away. They won it against Pepperdine in North Texas this weekend. 2-0 start to the spring season for Baylor volleyball. And then, the women's basketball team. How about 11 straight Big 12 championships, knocking off Kansas State this weekend in the Farrell Center on Saturday and taking home yet another ring. 85-49 was the final score in that one. Baylor champions again.
A lot of points, 85 points in the women's basketball game is impressive. Kim Mulkey and the gang, 11 Big 12 titles, man. That is a lot of titles in a row. We talked about it after I think they won their second game after losing to Iowa State. We're like, probably not losing again. I think they dropped a weird one against Iowa State, but we're like, no, they're probably going to run the table the rest of the way. So good to see them do it and do it in dominant fashion, leaving absolutely no doubt that they are the best team in the Big 12. They're going to make a run at this thing in March too.
Snaps for that. And then this week, all right, here's the topic of the day. Here's what we're going to talk about all day today while we got the time. Baylor falls to Kansas on the road, 71-58, the final score. Not just a loss, but a 13-point loss in Lawrence this weekend. What happened?
It just never felt like Baylor got back to who they wanted to be. It doesn't mean they still weren't completely in shape. Like, I don't know if I have grounds to say that here sitting behind a desk and having not done cardio, I don't know how long, but after COVID, I was doing some research before this, a little bit of Google WebMD research. For your lungs to get back to capacity, it takes around 4 weeks. And so I don't know if that's necessarily the par for the course for these elite athletes playing for Baylor basketball, but for the average man, 4 weeks to get your lungs back under you, can only imagine it takes at least half of that for someone who's playing basketball for Baylor. So I think that really bit them. Also, it was tough to not see your best player step up in the best moment. I mean, Jared Butler, when they really, really needed him, only having 5 points. I mean, that's tough to need more out of your go-to guy. And we've seen different moments where he's had struggles. And obviously, everybody and their mother is keen on Jared Butler when he has the basketball. And so for other guys not to step up quite as much and not have the other production from your bench really, really hurt. We saw that also on the glass. They just got bullied down low.
Jared Butler is typically fantastic against Kansas. I guess it was only a matter of time in which Baylor was going to have a game against Kansas where Jared Butler didn't go off. This was that game. Butler had just 5 points on 2 of 9 shooting, 1 of 7 behind the 3-point line, and I think Kansas did a good job of guarding him. That was a key. But how about this? Davion Mitchell took 15 shots. Okay, Maceo Teague took 20 shots.
Yeah,
those two guys can hit. They can shoot the basketball. Maceo Teague finished with 18 points, but that's not a recipe for success if you're Baylor. Those two guys taking the 15 to 20 shot range. And then for Kansas, David McCormick had 20 points on 8 of 10 shooting, went 4 for 4 at the free throw line, and it showed what have we talked about all year, that if there's going to be one team that Baylor sees that they're going to get beat by, it's going to be a team that has what?
Big man. Have the presence down low, and we saw that. It was tough for them to match up.
Look, Jonathan Chamo-Chach was good. All right, he's really good. Flo Thamba has shown a lot of great sparks this season as well. I am confident in both of those guys and their ability to get Baylor to a national championship, but they are not Azubuike. You know, they're not a DeAndre Ayton down there. You know, they're Joel Embiid. You don't have that guy that's just going to go up, slam it in your face that you can't stop down low. Baylor's not going to overpower any team in the country down low that has a formidable big man.
Mm-hmm. And even the fact they have 2 big guys like Chamo-Chach, Thamba, both good players in their own right, but coming off of COVID, you can only imagine in a game where you have to show up and have to have that physical presence and being down low against McCormick, like guys, 6'10", 260. He's a unit now. You better bring your A game. You better bring some lower body presence down low to be able to stick with him. And so I think the combination of one being on the road, having to travel, having to come back from COVID, all those things just were not a recipe for success. I'm not so sure that they don't handle that better in a game like we saw at home where they had their window to them. Obviously, they were in more of a rhythm back then, but being in shape down low really showed itself, especially on the glass. So. I mean, even we saw it in the first half with going back to your point about Jared Butler, we saw it even in the first half against Kansas. He wasn't necessarily on his game. It was that streak of threes that he got in the second half that really allowed him to I guess, propel and have some great numbers when it was all said and done. But there needs to be more production from guys around him to be able to allow them to make these pushes later in March. But I really do think COVID was the differentiating factor.
And now the question is, and it's the question the day-to-day on Uptempo, is how does Baylor fare in their final 3 ball games? They've got West Virginia on the road tomorrow. Have you seen the time for that game?
Right now I have it 4 Central is what it looks like.
I don't know why that is happening because ESPN could lose a lot of money. And they're going to, I say a lot, the viewership's going to be exponentially down at 4 p.m. compared to this game that should be an 8 o'clock nightcap game. It's a top 10 matchup in Morgantown. Number 2 Baylor, number 10 West Virginia. Then Oklahoma State comes to Waco at 6 p.m. on Thursday. And then Baylor at home against Texas Tech this Saturday. What is the best case scenario for those 3?
I mean, the best case scenario, right, is 3-0. You and I talked about it on the show on Friday. That Kansas game, getting a win at Kansas was huge for morale, was huge for your psyche. It was huge for confidence going to Morgantown, which I think you and I also talked about even before COVID hit. That was going to be probably the toughest game on Baylor's schedule with Huggy Bear and Press Virginia and all that. So I think the best case scenario is 3-0. Now, even before I was thinking maybe they would split West Virginia and Kansas, I was more confident they were going to lose at West Virginia than they were at Fog Allen. So that really, I think, hurts them a lot. It really will be a matter of how close can they hit the reset button. Is there a reset button even available physically for what they're dealing with COVID? So 3-0 is the best case scenario. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped at West Virginia. I would be extremely surprised if they dropped the last 2 at home with Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. I think they're better than both those ball clubs. Texas Tech makes me a little nervous. I think Oklahoma State can also make you nervous with Cade Cunningham just because of the firepower that both those teams have offensively. But if they were to drop 2 straight, I don't think 3 straight is that realistic, especially at home at the Farrell Center. So 2-1 is what I would say is most realistic. 3-0 I think is best case scenario and definitely possible.
Cade Cunningham's been really good. Cade Cunningham's playing his best basketball right now. He put up a 40-piece against Oklahoma. He's going to get a chance to try to do it again tonight against OU again. But looking across the next 3, I am legitimately worried after the loss to Kansas, and Scott Drew has said that he believes that the team needs to get their lungs back under them. They need to get back into a rhythm. I look at this schedule, and these are 3 dangerous games. that I would not be surprised in the slightest if Baylor goes 1-2, 0-3. That would not surprise me whatsoever. I think in that scenario, they drop to a 2 seed too. Maybe not. Yep. Maybe they stay a 1 seed, that 4th spot in the 1 seed, but then it's Gonzaga, Michigan, and who am I missing? Baylor. It's been Baylor. Right? I guess it's that 4th spot people are fighting for. Ohio State just lost to Iowa. They got drubbed by Iowa. They lost to Michigan State, and they lost. Ohio State's lost 3 straight. Illinois can't seem to buy a bucket consistently. I mean, nobody is playing very well past now Gonzaga and Michigan. Baylor's not playing their best basketball. It is now Gonzaga and Michigan at 1-2. Would you be upset to see those two in the top 2 of the AP poll?
I mean, if Baylor were to finish 1-2, I think you kind of have to shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, they probably are the best 2 teams in the country right now. I mean, with the sample size that Baylor gives you going 1-2, that'd be extremely disheartening. That'd be very frustrating. Would I be surprised? Wouldn't be surprised. Would I think it's all the way fair? Probably it's fair, but do I think long-term, given the whole season, if the whole season is your sample size, I think Baylor's probably the 2nd best team in the country behind Gonzaga with that kind of finish, but it'd be very easy to make an argument both ways, I guess is what I'm saying. So all things considered, what concerns me the most is how they set themselves up for the Big 12 tournament. I mean, if they lose, if they go 1-2 in these last 3 in the Big 12 tournament, you got to just be kind of biting your nails like, geez, I mean, are we going to make a quarterfinals exit? Are they even making the semis? Like, what does that look like for Baylor? And at that point, then you really start to be concerned about seeding, I think.
I'm not sure if Armstrong just paused my video or that may have been strategic on Armstrong's part, but I think we got it fixed now. Armstrong, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, golden. So my question is though, in the AP poll comes out, Baylor's at 3 behind Gonzaga and Michigan. Do you complain?
No. And this is after what? After the regular season?
No, today.
Today, I think 1 loss is a quick trigger. Obviously, they didn't play great against Iowa State, but to put them at 3, that feels like we're all jumping the gun just a little bit. There's still 3 games left on their schedule. Baylor's still beating some really good basketball teams and showing what they're able to do when they're healthy, in a rhythm, when they have the pieces going. I think that'd be irrational would be the word I'd put to that, but it doesn't concern me long term.
What if I told you that it came out and Baylor is at 3? Michigan has moved to number 2 in the AP poll. Gonzaga 1, Michigan 2, Baylor 3, now Illinois at 4, Iowa at 5, West Virginia is 6. So now that game against West Virginia in Morgantown becomes a top 6 matchup with number 3 Baylor facing WVU tomorrow night in Morgantown. Tomorrow night, it's going to be afternoon, 4 p.m. Baylor, number 3 in the country behind Michigan. Michigan 18-1, Baylor 18-1. Who's been hotter lately? What have you done for me lately? It's got to be Michigan. I mean, they are beating teams slap silly that are really good. They beat Ohio State. They just beat Indiana on the road, which is not a tough win to go and do. They beat was it Iowa? They smacked Iowa too. I think Michigan has shown in their last couple of games that they're playing better basketball than maybe anybody in the country right now. Michigan scares me where things sit.
I think we talked about it earlier in the season when Baylor was so hot and playing so well for that. I don't even know how many games it was, maybe 10 in a row, let's just say. It was kind of the question of, hey, are they too hot too early? We knew there was probably, just given the luck and given the nature of the season, like there will be some sort of COVID setback at a certain point, and Baylor had 2 or 3 of them. And so I think you do kind of look back and say, gosh dang, is our best basketball behind us? I hope not, but you make a great point. Michigan, they're peaking at the right time. They're playing phenomenal basketball. It's hard to make a case that it's hard to make a case against them, but I do think that was a little quick to pull the trigger on Baylor. I mean, 1 loss to a Kansas team on the road. Kansas is a good ball club too. I mean, it wasn't like they just went out there and dropped 1 to Kansas State or like Iowa State a week ago. I mean, it was still a good Kansas team and a really Baylor team. So too quick, yeah, but I'm not overly concerned about it just yet.
Iowa State's at 7, Alabama. Alabama's at 8, Houston at 9. They moved up 3 spots. Villanova has dropped down to 10 after a loss at Butler by a dozen. Florida State stays steady at 11. The University of Arkansas Razorbacks from 20 to 12. They scare me right now. They're one of the best teams in the country when it comes to who's hot. They're 19-5 now, and they just keep blowing through SEC competition. Alabama's going to win the SEC, but Arkansas right now, Pig Suey, they're doing something down there.
They're scrappy, man. They're fun to watch. I like the way I like the style of basketball they play. They get after you. You know, they're exactly what I imagine an Arkansas basketball team to play like. Go at you, gritty. You know, steal buckets, steal possessions. Like I like the way they play basketball. I think Alabama may have actually clinched already, but I think Arkansas is a team to watch in the tournament. They are going to be a problem for whoever draws them in the first round.
Kansas at 13, Creighton 14. UT is now at 15 after a loss to Texas Tech by 9. Oklahoma dropped 9 spots after a loss to Kansas State and then a loss to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's at 17. So look at that, the Big 12. The Big 12 is at number 2 in the country, number 3 now. Number 3 in the country, number 6. Got a team at 13 in Kansas, then 15, 16, 17, 18. Big 12 squads represent this week in the AP poll.
Do you like Oklahoma dropping 9 spots? Is that fair to you in your mind?
I think they should have dropped 12. I think they should be behind. I think they should be behind Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. I think they should be behind. They should have dropped at least 11. Them at 16, Oklahoma State at 17, Texas Tech at 18. I don't like that at all. I think especially after Oklahoma State just beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma and OU lost to Kansas State, arguably the worst team in the Big 12. Terrible. I like Iowa State most nights more than I like Kansas State, and you're going to tell me that Oklahoma loses to them, and they're at 16 now, still ahead of Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. I don't like it.
Well, there you go. I mean, has Kansas State won a conference game? I know Iowa State's still searching for their first conference win. Is Kansas State? I mean, not Kansas State. Obviously, they beat Oklahoma, but
yeah,
I'm being nitpicky with the Kansas State Iowa State comparison. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. That's a bad loss. It's a real bad loss. They got Bedlam coming up.
On the Baylor side, they're looking at tomorrow, West Virginia. What do you think? Baylor in Morgantown. Say it opens, and I think WVU is going to be favored. I got West Virginia favored by 3 when it comes to how the analysts are going to pick this. I think that's where we'll find ourselves tomorrow's game. Mm-hmm. What do you think? I like West Virginia -3 tomorrow if that's the case.
Gosh. I just think it's tough because if there was ever a must-win, like I think we coined sort of all 4 of these last ones Kansas was a must-win. Like, let's just say that Kansas was a must-win. This third game back from COVID, right? You've had 2 games to get your legs back underneath you. This is the epitome of a must-win. You're on the road. It's your last one before you get your homestand with the last 2. So I really think we're going to see a lot of what Baylor's made out of. I think it'll be similar to Kansas in the way that they'll probably trade baskets back and forth. I think the glass will be more even. I think the free throws will be better from Baylor. But as a whole, I think 3 is probably a good line, -3 West Virginia. I still have a hard time picking against Baylor for both emotional purposes and I think just what they've put on tape this year so far, their resume. It's hard for me to just totally trash all of that after the poor showing these last 2 games. They still have a lot under the hood. They're streaky. We've seen that in games. We've seen them be streaky in a span of 2 halves. But if Baylor turns it on, which I think they still are very capable of doing, I'd be hard for me to pick against the Bears. I'd say Baylor wins this game 68-66. I think it's a low-scoring affair, but I think they have a better showing down low. West Virginia doesn't scare me nearly as much as Kansas does in terms of what they bring from a big man presence. But it'll be a dogfight. And I do agree with you. I think West Virginia will be favored by if it's 3-ish. That sounds about right to me.
I just don't know, man. I don't know. Baylor goes on the road to Kansas. I think West Virginia is even more dangerous than Kansas, and you lose to 13 in Lawrence. Now you're going to Morgantown against a West Virginia team that's hot. They've won their last 3. Even games they're losing by 1. You know, the OU lost in double overtime. They beat Texas Tech on the road by 11. They beat Texas after being down by 19 points. West Virginia scares me more than I think any other team in the Big 12 right now. And I don't know right now, after what we've seen from Baylor in their last 2, where you can make a case that says, okay, Baylor's going to beat West Virginia. Maybe it's in if Baylor plays like they did to start the season, they beat West Virginia and they clinch a Big 12 championship. But I don't see it. I am worried, okay? Being someone that has loved Baylor for so long, like grown up watching Baylor, it feels like every time the moment gets big, when you're right there on the cusp of doing something crazy awesome in most sports, it doesn't pan out. It's like the life of someone that follows Baylor. It's here you are, the chance to do it all, make the playoff in football, or go to the Final Four in basketball, or go to the World Series in baseball in 2012, and then it just doesn't happen. So Baylor men's basketball, you think they're an automatic lock to go to to be Big 12 champions, and I don't know that it's going to happen this season because of the way their last 3 games are going to shake out. Maybe if they would have gotten a Kansas State in there or an Iowa State in there, what they did, or they already got their Iowa State, or a TCU. If they would have gotten TCU in there, maybe they'd win a Big 12 championship. But I don't know if Baylor can win another game in these next 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. Am I a pessimist for saying that?
Yes, I think to assume Baylor's going to drop all 3 of these, I understand the cause for concern at West Virginia. That's tough. But you got to think they're going to win one of these last 2 at home. I mean, they still are Baylor, right? They still have Jared Butler, Macy O.T., Davion Mitchell. They still have 2 decent bigs in Everyday John and Flo. Like, they still have the weapons to win a game, even when they're not playing their best. So I agree with you. West Virginia scares the heck out of me. Like, West Virginia, nobody wants to go to Morgantown, especially at this time in the season. After COVID, you're already exhausted. Nice to go play Press Virginia and Huggy Bear. Like, that's not a good situation. I wouldn't even be surprised if they dropped that one. But these next 2, if they were to lose the rest of these 3, I would be shocked. I would be in disbelief. I don't think that a Scott Drew coach team, given the roster he has right now, and given the weapons he has right now and the maturity level of this team, I really think they're primed to be able to kind of hit the reset button. Even if it is after West Virginia, I think at home that's going to do a lot for them. I do think they still win at least one more game, but I agree with you. West Virginia, it's a scary one. It's a scary one, and it's by every definition of the word a must-win.
All right, SicEm Pick'em today. Let's go ahead and roll through these real quick. We got a guest coming on at 11:35 that I'm sure you guys will be excited about. I'm excited to tell you about him. But Western Kentucky, Florida International is our first game of the day. It's a 12 o'clock game. 16.5-point favorites are Western Kentucky.
I mean, the line is minus 1,700. Western Kentucky in the money line. Excuse me. The spread is minus 16.5, but minus 700 if you like the money line. I think they cover. Florida International right now, they've lost their last 6. They're not playing well. Western Kentucky obviously stumbled against Houston at Houston. Houston's a good ball club. We don't give Houston enough credit. But besides that, Western Kentucky, I think they pick it up. I think they cover 16.5. FIU is just too far gone. At this point in the season, they're done.
The shot quality analytics have WKU at 8-point favorites in that one. So, I mean, hammer. I've been watching the shot quality stuff. I don't know if you saw that interview the other day, but the analytics on this are insane, and they do really well when it comes to pick'ems. The numbers. There's some magic to it. What else do you see in here? I think something is dangerous. Stephen F. Austin's going to Central Arkansas. Central Arkansas just knocked off the best team in the Southland Conference, Abilene Christian. ACU came into that game 19-3. Okay, now they get Stephen F. Austin, who's 10-2 in conference play. SFA 12-point favorites, but they're in Conway. You know what they say? Never bet against the Bears in Conway.
Is that what they say?
Nope.
Truthfully, I hadn't been.
It is not.
It's not, but they should say it.
They should.
Stephen F. Austin. Neither of the teams are great against the spread. They're 6-9 against the spread. Central Arkansas is 8-11-1, so nothing there that I love trend-wise. Hey, man, if you're saying don't go against the Bears in Arkansas, I'm with you. I'm back in the Bears, baby.
Hey, let's go. Back in the Bears today. Here's what I got. The Bonnies. I like St. Bonaventure. Minus 7.5, though. I don't think so. I like Dayton a lot, plus 7.5. I think St. Bonaventure may win it, but I like a 3-point victory for them.
How about Oklahoma minus 1.5-point favorites at Oklahoma State tonight?
After they just lost at home against Oklahoma State.
So that's what I'm saying. Is there's a lot of people that know more about basketball than me. There's a lot of people that make this their life. But who in Vegas knows something that nobody else knows? And Oklahoma is minus 1.5-point favorite. That to me screams Oklahoma, just because that line is the way that it is. But that's fishy. I'm with you though. State Bonnie against the spread, one of the best in the country. Like them a lot. Arizona State minus 4.5. Against Washington State. Arizona State's been pretty decent against the spread from what I remember in conference games. I'll probably back them 4.5. What do you say?
do know that they just beat Washington State by like 3 in overtime. Yep. So they just played each other the other day, and that was a game in which Arizona State won in OT. So may stay close again, or hey, maybe they end up blowing this thing out. But I like them on a money line for sure. Miami, Virginia. Virginia favored in this one by 14.5 points. No. Miami just played Clemson with an 8 at Clemson, and which they play better on the road for some reason against the spread. Virginia has now lost 3 straight, including a home game against NC State. Give me Miami without a doubt. Lock in plus 14.5.
I'm with you on that one. Miami's playing well right now. You're back to hot hand, right? Like the trends over the season are
good
helpful.
teams cover.
You're back to hot hand. Great teams cover. I'm with it. I'm all about it. What else we like on here? Radford, the Fighting Marty Smith, -7.5 at home against Hampton. Big South Championship quarterfinal. How about that? Little playoff basketball. I'll take the Fighting Marty Smith -7.5.
I like Campbell a lot. Campbell on a money line today is my pick of the day against Gardner-Webb. And then Winthrop against High Point -12.5. Winthrop's a cover machine. I got them winning that game by at least 15. Rutgers -8. I like Rutgers on a money line. I think -8's kind of close, though, being on the road. I like them, but Nebraska can be kind of sneaky. North Carolina at Syracuse. Give me Q's on the money line today, please. Syracuse is going to win this game.
You think North Carolina is playing so well? They're playing for Armstrong.
No, stop. North Carolina's not playing so well. They lost to Marquette.
They just beat the brakes off of Florida State, and Florida State was like 8-point favorite.
That's a good point, but they did lose to Marquette by 13 at home.
What have you done for me lately, baby? February 27th, they're back on it. They're back on their grind. I think they at least beat Syracuse, covering 1.5. See, I just hate those lines that are 1.5. It's like, if it's 1.5, I might as well just take you money line, I might as well just take you with the points. Like, I don't understand the 1.5 point spreads. Those make me feel weird. I don't like those, but I'll take them 1.5. All right. I'll take them 1.5.
Any last ones in here you want to throw out?
Gosh, man. Houston Baptist is usually pretty good against the spread. They're plus 10.5. Sacred Heart at home. Houston Baptist is bad this year, but somehow good against the spread, which is weird. So I'll roll with them, but all things considered, I think we hit the big ones.
Yeah. Armstrong, do you have that video that I sent you of the coach and those players?
I do.
All right, guys, here's what we got. That was SicEm Pick'em today. Now we're rolling into one of the cooler guests that I think we'll be able to have on. Check this video out. This is over the weekend in Division III women's basketball.
Same old out of Hope College Flying Dutch women's
Is there audio?
team. Persistent offense, an impressive defensive presence, and a technical foul already. That was kind of the plan, to be able to have all 9 seniors out there. So we'll have a restart in just a second as the typical starters take the floor here.
Yeah, so we're going to see number 24, Isabel Clark. She will take the free throws to start us off. But, Rose, a cool way to start. These 9 seniors, they've been through a lot over the past couple of years. Last year,
not sure we can get audio on that, but I guess we can preface, give a little bit of backstory there. Armstrong, all right, so the audio, I think a little bit of audio interface issues there, but what you're seeing right now, we'll go ahead and preface this for you guys. Division III, okay? Division III women's basketball. This is from Hope College. Coach Brian Morehouse and Hope College this week. They were the number 1 team in Division III most of last season. All right, they had wins in the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association regular season and tournament title. They advanced to the quarterfinals, the NCAA Division III championship. Then the tournament was canceled on March 13th, 2020. We're rolling up on that date a year ago, ending the season 29-0, graduating 2 seniors. 2020, 2021, they come back, Hope College, ranked number 1 in D3 all season, win the regular season title, seeded number 1 for the conference tournament title, but bottom falls out, rug pulled out from under you. They can't compete in the NCAA Division III championship. The NCAA has canceled the tournament since too many other Division III schools are not sponsoring winter sports due to COVID-19, and participation numbers are too low for a national tournament. They look to end the season 16-0, 45 straight wins, the most in team history, and become the second program in NCAA Division III women's basketball to have 2 win streaks of more than 40 games in history. They graduate 5 seniors in the starting lineup, 9 seniors total. So what Hope College does, their coach, Brian Morehouse, sends out all 9 seniors on senior day. The same team that will end up most likely on a 45-game win streak by the time they finish this thing sends out the seniors. What a way to go out. Coach Brian Morehouse doing unbelievable work with his squad.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, JD, for having me.
Absolutely, Coach. Welcome on the show, and we're glad to have you. Walk me through, it's Armstrong was talking about it. This is something that is that to honor your seniors. What a way to honor your seniors. So thoughtful for your team. Where did this idea come from?
Well, I've been thinking about how I've got a huge senior class, right? 9 seniors. Who does that? That's terrible roster management. But I've been thinking about this even since last spring. Senior day is going to be stressful. I talked about doing 2 senior days this year, just because we have so many players, 5 and 4, maybe on separate days. But in the end, just with COVID and everything, it's just been the craziest year. About 2.5 weeks ago, I'm just driving, recruiting, thinking about senior day coming up. And I was like, man, it's too bad. Maybe I'll just start half of them on the game before and half of them, on last Saturday, and I'll figure this out. And then I was like, it would be really cool if they could all start, but there's rules against that. You can't do that. Then I thought, is there? Can I?
Yeah.
So I called up one of the referees in our league, and I just said, hey, what would happen if I did this? Am I going to get double technical, thrown out of the game? I'd like to still be able to coach the team. And he kind of walked me through, what the penalty would be, the administrative technical and, free throws and lose the ball. And I don't care about any of that stuff. But I said, all right, I think I'm going to do this. And so I talked to the Kalamazoo coach before the game, and I just said, listen, no disrespect for your team, but this is what I want to do to honor an abnormally large senior class. And I told our team at shoot around that morning at 11:30, and it was a really cool response by our team, not just by our starters, but by the kids that don't start. Those 4 kids that don't start that are seniors, and some tears, and just the idea that they would be able to start their last game at Hope College.
Yeah, Coach, what kind of response did you get from the school? I mean, I would imagine with the success of this program right now and with the success the senior class has had, was there any response from the university as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's our college. This is a basketball school. And, we led the nation in attendance. We've been in this building for 15 years now. We've led the nation in attendance every single year. We outdraw almost every men's program in the United States. The only 3 teams that we haven't outdrawn in the state of Michigan are Michigan State, Michigan, and Oakland on a per game average. So, we get incredible support. So do our men. Our men are very good as well. They've led the nation in attendance the last 20 years. So the community and the school itself are incredibly supportive. And I didn't know how this would be received, and not to be flippant about it, but I didn't really care. I felt like this was the right thing to do for the 9 seniors, and that's who my allegiance is to 100% provide the greatest opportunity I can for the women in my program. And if I could, in some small measure, do this on Saturday at 3 p.m. when the ball went up, it was an easy decision for me.
Coach, I'm not sure if you got your video there on your Skype, but I'm not sure if our video feed's going through. If you've got the ability to turn that on, we'd love to get that pumped out there. But I wanted to ask you, not just for those that were on the bench, the seniors that came off the bench this season, but for those that started, when they got the news that, hey, you're going to get to start alongside those bench players, everybody together. How did the starters react on your squad?
Oh, they might have been more excited about it than our team was. To be honest with you, I thought the starters were, the most excited about the whole thing. So, and I apologize. I'm not a big Skype guy, so you tell me what to hit, and I will punch the button and get my ugly mug up for you. I don't always know how to do that, though. So.
Coach Morehouse, we are not big Skype guys either here. We have just been thrown for a loop on our remote show today, but our producer Armstrong is the one kind of hooking us up right now. There should be a little camera button somewhere down there. Armstrong, am I right in saying that, or am I telling him wrong?
No, you're correct.
I'm correct. Yeah, maybe there's a little camera button that you'll be able to hit down there on the bottom of your screen. I'm not sure what it exactly will look like. Right by the little microphone.
Yeah, I see that.
He muted himself.
But I can't hit the button and turn that on, so that's weird.
Wow. Well, hey,
sorry.
That's all right. We got a graphic up for it anyway. JD, what do you got?
I was going to say, I just feel, he said he doesn't want his ugly mug up there. I was going to say, they let you and I on here. So, the bar is set pretty low from the jump. But, Coach, I think not lost in all this, but kind of a footnote is that y'all are really good at basketball. Like, if any other team did this, it would still be a story. But, I think it's going to be 45-0 when this thing's all said and done. Talk me through building this program and building it with these 9 seniors. Walk me through just the dominance that y'all have had.
Well, so probably my returning first-team All-American, her mom played for me 25 years ago. She was my first captain. She was my best player. She's the one that talked me into taking the women's job. I was with our men's program at the time. We were just coming off a Final Four. I'm a young, dumb, 25-year-old guy who I'm thinking, why I'm not taking the women's job. I'm going to Kansas and being with, Dean Smith, and I'm going to be his graduate assistant. I'll take over, somewhere down the line. But she was very, very convincing. And she talked me into playing or into coaching. And my wife actually played in the women's program while we were both in college. And so I had some connections with it. And then so fast forward, 21 years later, and I'm recruiting my first captain's daughter, who happens to be a really good player. And one of her teammates was a 6'3", Division I volleyball player that I was able to talk into playing basketball instead of volleyball and staying in town here because they're both hometown kids. So I've known Kennedy since she was born, like literally a day after she was born. Her dad was my student assistant coach when I was coaching in the men's program. He's now my AD. How crazy is that?
Wow.
So then you got those two, and then we start piecing a recruiting class together with kids that we've kind of had our eyes on since 8th and 9th grade coming to our camps. Add in there that my daughter it plays for me. She is a sophomore, and it's just this crazy compilation of people that came together. And the 9 seniors, it was like one at a time they started ticking off. But I know that one time they came to the game, I think 6 out of the 9 were at a game. And I look up in the stands and somehow they all find each other. We hadn't really connected them. And they're all sitting up there talking, and I see them, they're talking nonstop. Nobody shuts up, and they're gesturing with their arms and everything. And afterwards I asked one of them, I'm like, hey, it looked like the conversation was going pretty good, right? And they're like, oh man, we love this team. And I was like, what'd you guys talk about? Like, who's rooming with who? Yeah. We talked about that. And then she looked up at the top of our rafters and she said, and we talked about, we want to hang one of those. And we happen to have 2 national championship banners and a 3rd Final Four. She said, we want to hang one of those. And so, that's sort of how this class came together. And then we added to it with a really good junior class, my daughter's class, which has, 3 very good sophomores in it that are all playing right now. And you've got just this crazy group of talented women who, by the way, 2 engineers, 2 nurses, 2 physician's assistants, a teacher, a social worker, and a psychologist.
Wow.
And team grade point average 3.7. Now you guys go to Baylor, so you know what going to a hard school is all about, right? Like if you want an easy one, you would have gone to one of those other Texas schools, right? That's what you tell everybody, I'm sure.
Yep.
But Hope is a very, very high caliber academic school. So when I say we got a 3.7 grade point average, that is legit. Every kid graduating in 3.5 or 4 years. These women are doing life the right way.
Coach, one of the things that we hear a lot from Scott Drew, Kim Mulkey, and those that are here is not just preparing champions on the court, but champions for life. And I'm really glad that you brought that up. But going back to the success you guys have had this season, so undefeated last year, now on the cusp of a 40-plus game win streak, the Flying Dutch. I mean, you guys' success breeds success, and here you are on the cusp of another national championship run, not just last year, but this year. And then you get word that there's no national tournament. What is that like, and how did your team react?
Well, it was crazy how I found out, because we knew the NCAA was in conversation about it, and in particular, one Wednesday was a big conversation. They said that there were going to be some decisions made. I put my phone away finally, waiting for good or bad news. When I walked on the court 40 minutes before the game, and I said, "No news is good news. Let's go. Let's roll, baby." And we went out. We beat the number 5 team in the nation that night on our home court. And all of a sudden, my assistant coach pulls on my shirt sleeve, and she's like, "Hey, you got to know this before we walk in the locker room." She goes, "There's no NCAA tournament." So we come off probably the biggest win that we've had, in a long time. And here comes my SID running at me. Here comes my AD running at me. They're all trying to get to me before I hear about it from somebody else, right? And so then I go into our locker room, and we pray it out, and we debrief. I'm not a big talker in the locker room after the game, but just spend a couple minutes congratulating the women on the great job that they did. And then I said, I got some difficult news that I got to share right now. And then I had to break it to them for the second year in a row that they wouldn't have a chance to make a run. And I've lost national championship games. I've been upset before. I've never had a tougher locker room than that. I mean, 52-year-old guy, me, 25th year of coaching. And, I am crying for them. I've been there. I've been to Final Fours. This isn't about me in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to get another job. I'm not trying to get a raise. This is all about the players. And my heart we learned a lot of life lessons off the first one, right? Like as a dad, your parents tell you, like, this is a good life lesson. You're going to learn from this. We didn't learn anything from the second one. The first one, we learned a lot. The second one, we didn't learn anything. It was just hard.
Wow.
And Coach, I got goosebumps right now, having to tell your players that news not once but twice. What are you most proud of in the way they responded? Because you think a lot of lesser programs made of lesser players would have packed it up. You got people transferring. Talk to me about what you are most proud of with this team and how they responded in playing winning basketball.
Joy, honestly, joy. One of our really influential former players, captain, All-American, actually went to Baylor, and she got her master's in divinity down there in athletic sport leadership from your school. And one of the things that she's always on me about is finding joy in the darkest moments, finding joy in all things. And I am so proud of this team for acknowledging that it's really hard and coming back and making a decision. Partly the night that I told them, I said, anybody wants out, I understand. I said, if we want to be done with our season, there are schools in the United States that have pulled the plug on their season, right? Like Duke women have done that. And I have great respect for Kara Lawson. There have been some really high profile schools that have decided to not continue playing. And I gave them the option, and I said, and if any one of you wants out, we will respect that. And if you all want out, we'll pull the plug on the season. And I said, but I don't want your answer right now. We're going to come back together tomorrow. And before we left that night, there were some really, really powerful statements made by our players to each other. And one of the statements that was made was, this is painful because this is what I came here for, to hope. But I've learned along the journey that it's bigger than that. It's about coming together every day to practice with the women that are in this circle right now. It's about playing for each other. It's about respecting the fact that we all have differences and that we all view this differently. But she said, I want to keep playing because this is the group of people I want to see every single day.
Coach, this is all, it's like you've got a Baylor on your hands, but in Michigan. I mean, this is all the stuff that we hear so frequently from our coaches here that makes this place so special, and to know that exists in other colleges across America and that you've built that's unbelievable. I want to ask you, when your athletic department posted that video of the seniors being on the court, all 9 of them, one last time at home for senior night, what is the reaction that you got? I mean, the thing's gone super viral, well over 100,000 views now, all put together between what you've posted and the athletic department's posted. What was the reaction that you got from that moment and your decision to put all 9 seniors on the floor?
It's been wild. I mean, I do not profess to be this social media aficionado. I just don't that's not what I aspire to be. I don't aspire to be an influencer, right? That would be my younger daughter, Emma. It's wild. Sarah Spain tweeting us, Rex Chapman, you guys know who the big wigs are out there in the sports world, tweeting us. We thought our alumni would like it. That's why we did it. We thought our Hope College alumni, our fans would enjoy it. We did no idea this thing was going to blow up like this. And the reason I love it is because amidst the chaos and the darkness comes a little bit of joy. And I'm just so happy that people can see women and a program and in a school that has taken a really, really tough situation, and they've responded with joy, and they've found ways to really make it a cool thing for their seniors. And I can tell you that our practices and our games, our bench, it's been amazing. I mean, our players have responded with an amazing energy, joy, drive to a very difficult situation. And I'm just happy that the world can see that via social media.
Coach, your team, too, this group of seniors will finish their college career with somewhere around 100 wins. And while they weren't able to compete for a national championship last year, they don't get that opportunity again this year, knowing that they very well could have won 2 in a row. Even without those, what is this team's legacy?
That every opportunity that was teed up in front of them, they hit out of the park. Academically, spiritually, community service, on the court, perfection up to this point. They hit a home run. And as Scott Drew can tell you, as Kim Mulkey can tell you, that's hard. When all the expectations, when you have the number 1 ranking, it's hard to be perfect. You know what else is hard? Since last August, when we started basketball, we have had 1 positive COVID.
Wow.
Golly.
Now think about that. Think about how hard that is. Think about the sacrifice. Our kids have not been to a restaurant since last August. Our kids have not hung out with their families, with their boyfriends since, we're talking, they're locked down because they are all in for the team. You know how hard that is when you're 18 to 22 years old?
Wow.
What kind of sacrifices are we all making? there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, that's too bad. Wow, unfortunate. Got it. I mean, thought I was doing a good job, but, just wrong place, wrong time. I mean, think about part of it's luck. I'm not saying that it's not. Part of it's luck. Mm-hmm. But part of it is making the ultimate sacrifice of sacrificing yourself for the good of the group.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Coach, that's unbelievable. I'll tell you what, I think Kim Mulkey's got another good, hopefully 10 or 15 years in her. But if not, hopefully, I'm just going to assume Mac Rhodes will be giving you a call for a vacancy.
Kim is a great coach, and Coach Drew is amazing. The amazing thing about both of them is that it's become expected now. They have built programs of, hey, this isn't a good year for Baylor. This is an expected year for Baylor. And, that's all we wanted to do at Hope, is build a program that year in and year out, we have a level of excellence that is expected and that we are living into as a basketball program. And quite honestly, in all facets of our life. And it's fun to watch other people do it the right way and say, we can steal that from Kim. And some of it's her culture. Scott Drew, some of it's his culture, some of it's his X's and O's, but it's cool to look around the country and try to steal from the good ones.
Yeah,
Coach Brian Morehouse, thank you for doing things the right way and joining Up Tempo today. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
You guys are fantastic. Anytime you want me on your show, I'd love to join you. And things are looking pretty good in Baylor, right? I hope you guys are able to run this thing and have a lot of bear action. Running this thing through March, keep this thing hopping, and you guys do a great job. I appreciate it.
Great.
Thanks
again,
so much,
Coach Brian Morehouse, thanks again. Hope women's basketball head coach, 29-0 last season before their season was cut short, and undefeated this season with no tournament championship. JD, man, I mean, that's the epitome of what you want out of a head coach. I mean, that recruits itself right there.
I mean, everything you talked about, culture in itself, man. The culture to only have one positive COVID test since this all started in August. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. And credit to him, credit to that senior class, everything they developed there. They deserve to be playing for a national title. And just absolutely heartbreaking to hear that's not going to be the case now for the second year in a row.
Man, that was cool. That was flipping cool.
God. Me.
Brian Morehouse, gosh, injected in my veins to know what they got going on over there at Hope College. D3 has been even tough. I mean, they're playing with masks on, because the budget's not there to be able to deal with COVID. And so now his team probably would have won back-to-back natties, and you can't do that because of all the COVID restrictions and teams that have dropped out. But to know that he's making the most of it, that it's not just basketball for those guys, is awesome. That's awesome. All right, here's what we got. It is Monday. You know what Monday means?
I mean, we got Music Monday.
Music Monday.
Last Monday of the week.
Armstrong, what do we got today?
Okay, today we have a special treat for y'all out there. I don't even know how big of an Office fans y'all are, but today's theme is Office, or songs that were featured in The Office prominently.
Oh, no.
So now you don't have to know The Office to get these songs right, but you do. There is a third point on the table for if you can describe the scene that this takes place in The Office, where this appears.
Okay, sweet.
Now, y'all may get none of those. I'm not actually sure how much y'all know The Office, but...
Bring it.
All right.
So y'all ready?
Ready.
The best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep.
You know I've got so much that I want to do when I dream of a
Just out of Allen called Nasser for coffee or Rockefeller, Campanella,
Sweet. And I know the scenes too. Oh, baby.
I think
Come on.
Did Drake get all of them?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty solid right here.
I would say scenes, I'm probably 3 for 5 here. I feel more confident about the scenes.
Scenes are worth 2?
No, scenes are just worth 1.
Scenes are worth 1.
I don't like the scoring metric, but all right, what's next? Or do you have will you play it again?
Yeah, let's play it again.
The best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep.
You know I've got so much that I want to do when I dream of a
Just out of Allen called Nasser for coffee or Rockefeller, Campanella,
Okay.
He's trying to think of. All right. So, you ready?
I think so.
All right. Song
I
one.
might be out of order here.
Is Drake?
Oh, shoot.
Okay. Drake.
First one's Rockin' Robin Jackson 5. It's Andy's ringtone.
Yep.
What is that? You got the same thing?
Yeah, all three of those.
Okay.
Really?
I will give you all the points, but technically, it is the artist is technically Michael Jackson. This is like early in his single career, but
The solo dolo.
we'll give it to you. Same thing.
Okay.
And then song 2.
JD?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's an Andy Bernard like riff deal, but I don't know. I don't know who it's from or what it's called.
Drake, what do you got?
It's The Gambler by Kenny Rogers, and it's when they're on the bus.
Yes.
Ooh.
When they're on the bus going on beach day. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Third
I
song.
watched Limitless.
Oh.
Third song, JD or Drake.
Is that the Ryan started the fire?
No, that was
you're
Is
skipping
that
ahead.
four?
That's number 4.
Okay, well then I obviously don't know. I don't know the third one then. Oh yes, okay. I don't know that one. I know what you're referring to now in the game, but no idea which one that was.
Okay.
It's is it Mamma Mia?
I don't know how to respond to that. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
But
it's not super. It's not Super
Mamma Mia.
Tramp. Yeah. Oh man. Oh. You know what? Give it to me. I'm gonna tap out.
Okay, it is "Take a Chance on Me" by Abba.
Oh.
And the scene is
that's when he asked her on the date.
he asks out Angela with his over the
Gosh,
phone.
dang it. All right, yeah, number 4, JD, what do you got?
Is it The Fire? I'm not sure who it's from.
Okay. We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
Okay, there
Yes.
it is. When Ryan puts the panini or whatever in the oven.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's good stuff.
And Dwight sings it. Yeah.
Number 5, the song is Physical. And the scene is when Michael and Holly are let's get ethical. Yeah.
I want to hear your Dunner Mifflin talk.
Yeah.
He knows it.
That's exactly. The artist is
Music, no. Office, yes.
The artist, by the way, is Olivia Newton-John.
Wow.
Who,
that was a close one today, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that was a close one. I think Drake pulled that one out, but
Yeah.
JD.
But at least we can get goose egg, man. That's sort of the deal.
Yeah, I give you a nod of excellence. That was I'm impressed.
JD knows his office. JD knows his
Not
office.
my office. My music, not so much.
I'm Drake Toll. It's JD Pickell, Armstrong Sam's. We're gonna hit Armstrong's Minute in a break. When we come back, you ever heard of the By the Numbears Twitter account?
Heard of it. Great work. Really great work. It's gonna be a treat. Goodwill hunting.
If you have, you'll be excited. If you're Goodwill hunting. If you have, you'll be excited. If you haven't, you'll find all about it. This is Up Tempo.
It was a huge weekend in Baylor athletics with nearly a dozen teams in action. Starting on the court, Baylor men's basketball suffered their first loss of the season in a 71-58 defeat at Kansas, where the Jayhawks dominated the glass in the inside game. On the women's side, the Lady Bears clinched at least a share of their 11th straight Big 12 championship in the Farrell Center with an 85-49 drubbing of Kansas State. They're back in action at Texas tonight. To the Diamond, Baylor baseball went 1-2 in Round Rock over the weekend with a 12-4 loss against Texas A&M, a 12-6 win against number 7 Auburn, and a 9-3 loss to number 25 Oklahoma. The softball team went 3-2 in the Lone Star Invitational, splitting 2 games with UConn, falling to Ole Miss 10-4, Mercy ruling Lamar 10-0, and knocking off number 25 Mississippi State 10-6. In track, Baylor's Casey Lightfoot won his 3rd straight Big 12 championship with a jump of 5.9 meters, and the women's 4x4 team swept the conference to take first place in the league. Acro and Tumbling kicked off their season as well this weekend for Baylor with a blowout win against Mary Hardin Baylor in Waco, 274-253. And the number 6 volleyball team swept their competition this weekend with a 3-0 win against North Texas and a gritty 3-2 win against Pepperdine. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, welcome into Up Tempo. I'm Drake Toll, joined today by Justin Andrews. If you guys at home have ever heard of By the Numbers on Twitter or seen their stuff, by there I mean your stuff, I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. If not, Justin Andrews joining us to tell us what's going on. Justin, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Here's where I want to start, though. For folks that don't know, I mean, you can find you on Twitter at By the Numbers. The stuff that you do is top-notch analytics for Baylor athletics. I want to know, man, how did you even get into this game where you started crunching numbers?
Well, I mean, it all kind of started, like, I'm a big baseball fan, and when you go to baseball, like, they're all about numbers, from WOBA to any letters you can put together probably could be a baseball stat out there. And I just was thinking, like, how do these stats apply to football? Are these stats for basketball? Are these stats for other things? And I just kind of kept to myself, use them to defend, like, my takes to my friends for the most part. But my brother was actually John Morris's statistician for 2019 and 2020. And he was like, John told me to get some stats in this game. Do you have anything that might be cool or something? And I was like, heck, I'm bored at work. Let me go look up some stuff. And I gave him like 5 to 10 or something. He's like, and he mentioned to me in passing or something like, you should tweet those out. And I was like, well, I should come up with like a fun hashtag with it. And I was like, well, what's something with stats? And I was like, numbers, numbers. That works. So the 2019 season of football, I went halfway through on my personal account. I started tweeting out like these random stats I would find on. There's so many statistics things. There's College Football Reference. There's Pro Football Focus. There's just the NCAA itself. You can just have to know what to look for and how to look for it. I was just finding cool things, and I knew like a lot of players are good players, and even if like they aren't the best in the country at something, you could be like, if you combine this stat with that stat, they'll become one of the better players.
Yeah.
And just over the time, I just kept doing it. And then this fall, when football rolled around, I started doing it Mondays and Fridays because I was like, I can do game specific and I can do like nationally on like Monday. And it was cluttering my personal Twitter account so much. And I was just like, I'm tired of just tweeting out by the numbers, like 10 tweets a week. And no one can even see what my personal views are and stuff. And like, I don't want someone to not want to follow me because I don't want to follow this guy. Like maybe he likes a team professionally that I don't like. Right. So I made it like a Baylor specific account based off of like a logo I'd seen on like some other stats accounts for other like teams professionally. And Colt actually reached out to me. He's like, who the heck runs this Twitter account? And I was like, it's me, Justin. I graduated from Baylor in 2018. I used to have fun with stats. And he's like, would you want to tweet like with a SicEm365 attached to it to like help promote us? And how would you like to go about that? And I was like, honestly, I've never done this kind of thing. Like, if you want to help promote my account, I'm all for it. Just tell me what you want me to do. And he's like, well, if you just put it on the forums for us and you tweet it out like you normally do, like we're fine to give you a comped account so you can tweet a stat. And then I've just been going at it ever since, offering views, offering viewpoints. Look, with so many followers, you kind of have more motivation to like look deep into things and make people look good. Like for one, like Jalen Petry's game where he had like he had a pick six and the next game another pick six. Like I was like, whoever has done that? And some people don't think about that, but I'm the one that thinks about that and goes and looks it up. And I'm like, everyone else should know this too because I thought of it.
So where does a lot of that come from too? I mean, is it just kind of you'll have a thought and then, all right, I wonder where that stat is. How do you find these things?
More or less, you just like, I played a lot of sports in high school. So you understand that, like when even just playing them like for fun, you understand the sport a little bit more. And it's like, okay, Jalen Petry is a good linebacker, but he doesn't just play linebacker. He plays safety part of the time. So that star position, that's a little bit a jack of all trades. And you see him like get a sack, and then later on, like 2 plays later, you see a pass deflection. You're like, that's something I'd like to think about. Like who else has done that? Or something that you think is like, that's pretty impressive. I've never seen someone do that before. Let me go look that up. And I think it's CFB Reference has like a play index thing. You have to like finagle with it to be like so many sacks in so many games and for certain teams or against certain opponents. But just like, I don't know, my brain kind of works fun like that where you enough to like narrow down that little focus so you can see something to make a player seem really great when no one else would think about that.
So for you too, I know we kind of talked a little bit there about kind of how you got into this. Right now, are you watching a lot of the games? Are you getting a lot of questions? What's the kind of, how has this grown even over the last month from you and this Twitter account?
I mean, for the most part, I'm just getting retweets and likes on Twitter or like some comments on the forum. Most people are just kind of like, that's kind of cool. The way I've grown is I didn't do basketball last year. I'm starting to do a lot more basketball this year, which they have a lot of stats I didn't know about until I got into it this year, like with Kim Pom and College Basketball Reference, and just they have Torvik, they have Evan Maya, like all these like deep analytical websites I never knew about. And I mean, our players are so good this year. It's fun to just go look into these stats and be like, you think they're good? Well, they're like historically good, and this is why. I mean, you can look at like Davion Mitchell's assist rate, or Jared Butler, how much he's improved on defense, and like there's a whole lot of sites that are just going to give you those offense stats like points, assists, steals. Yeah. Like these advanced sites have like defensive rating or like assist rate, and you're like, wow, these guys are really good if you understand what that stat means.
Right. Is there for you, is there a specific place that you go to find these stats too, or is it just Sports Reference to ESPN to CBS to everywhere?
Usually I think of the stat before I go look it up. So I have a kind of a viewpoint of like what I'm going to look for. I mean, I use a lot of the reference site has a big like filter thing you can use. But when it comes to basketball, like their like rating system isn't the same as like Ken Palm's or Torvik's or Evan Maya's. So I usually go there. For college football, I do a lot of like pro football focus stuff. But that's like some that costs premium. So you just like find something there, then go back to College Football Reference and use like the way that pro football focus looks at it and just take it over there. Baseball, I actually do like all my own stats because there's not a whole lot of extensive college baseball, and a lot of the stats like WOBA or weighted runs created or MLB stats because they use like park factors and like all these insane measurements of baseball ballparks. So when I go there, it's just kind of keep the basic things. You can do like a league average with D1 baseball stats. That kind of helps and makes it semi-accurate, but it's still kind of fun to look at these players beyond what they actually are by the eye test.
So I'd be remiss if we didn't get into some numbers and talk what you're seeing right now. And I want to start, aside from basketball, because that's what's big. I'm a big baseball guy. You said you're a big baseball guy. We had a message earlier today from Garland Bear saying you're being way too positive about baseball and softball. Baseball 2-4, softball 3-2 at home, and a tournament isn't good. Only wins over lowly Lamar and UConn, yada yada. Right now, though, with where Baylor baseball is, what do you see numbers-wise that has been standing out to you with this team?
I mean, first things first, you gotta look at Jared Mckenzie. Like, this guy's got 4 home runs, two home run games. Like, that's insane. And he was a freshman last year, and he's a freshman again, technically. It would be a sophomore. It's only his second year. But that's incredible for someone that young, leading off the Baylor team. And they lost all their veteran presence last year. They lost Nick Lofton. They lost Mac Mueller, like the two like anchors of their lineup, in my opinion. And then you look at another guy like Trey Richardson. This guy is 5 of 5 with stolen bases. Like, they've only played 6 games. Like, how do you steal 5 bases and get every single one? And that's just impressive to me. Stats wise, what you can see these players is like Tyler Thomas. He lost one of those Rio Grande Valley games, but he had like a 6-inning pitch. I think it was a quality start. And although the bullpen lost their way after it, like, I think he's like this ace of their team who's doing a really great job. They won the Auburn game large part due to 5 solid innings from him. And this is an Auburn team that won a game 33-0. Like, there's nothing to scoff about if you can hold them to a quality, like 5 innings, 2 runs, 1 earned. Like, that's pretty good. And I mean, until you get further into the season, you can't really see like how good they are compared to the rest of the league. But numbers wise, you can see that when the pitching is pitching well, this offense is churning. It's going well. And when the pitching kind of falls off a little bit, the offense presses a little bit. They strike out a little bit more. They do some ground balls. They're not going the same approach to the plate. And I feel like then the pitchers want to press because they're not getting any run support. So then they kind of don't hit their pitches where they want them to and kind of give a couple more runs. So when I watch this team, I don't think they're necessarily bad, but I think they're putting a good effort out there. And if they could get it all together and be consistent with, like, if they play like they did against Auburn and play like they did for the first Rio Grande Valley game in the first half of the second game, like, that team's going to be something to compete with come Big 12 play.
What you see so far with this baseball team and teams of lore, what is the maximum potential for this squad? All things clicking, how good can this baseball team be from what you've seen in a numbers standpoint?
I mean, the first things first, they got to start avoiding bats on the pitching mound. They got to get their starters in order. I mean, Hayden Kettler hasn't pitched all year. I know he came back. I don't really know the situation a whole lot with him. But he's like, is his 5th year there. If they can get him in the rotation, they might get a little bit more veteran presence in there, help them out there. Their ceiling, if they're clicking, if you have Jared Mckenzie hitting 2 home run games every game, they could win the Big 12 for all I care. But you're not going to have that every game. I think optimistically what you're looking for is a top 4, top 3 finish in the Big 12 and sneaking into the NCAA tournament. But these are all young guys, so you don't ever know. Like, the young guys could find their way, get hot. Andy Thomas and Davion Downey, some veterans in there that could just kind of remember their stride, remember their swing. And if the offense gets clicking, I think that pitching is just going to fall right behind, and they could start winning some 10-2 ball games if they get hot. But at the same time, like, baseball is a really inconsistent sport. And I know, like, with COVID and everything, they've had a deep and long struggle of trying to get in games and trying to prepare for this season. And other teams that have, like, veteran presence, or just like in basketball, like Baylor's good because they have that veteran presence, and you've seen those, like, younger teams fall off. It's the same thing in baseball. So if these guys can kind of, like, find their way, hopefully by Big 12 play they can start competing, winning some of these series and getting to the Big 12 tournament on a hot streak and getting the NCAA tournament on a hot streak.
flipping to the basketball side of things, when you look at this Baylor basketball team, what are the crazy stats or unique stats that maybe that you've tweeted or put out in the past or that stand out to you right now?
I mean, the big thing is, like, you go look at David Mitchell and Jared Butler, and you see their points and everything, and there's a lot of, like, rate things. So their steal rates and their assist rates are just off the charts. Like, the people that have both of those percentages, it's just like them and then everybody else. And it's just insane to me. And it's also fun to see, like, player ratings in the Big 12 or, like, player ratings nationally, and Baylor has, like, 3 to 4 in the top 10, top 20. Offensively and defensively. I think if you go look at the Big 12, they have like top 4 defensive players before this whole COVID thing. They were like the top 4 defensive players in the conference. I think another thing I really like is Matt Meyer is really good, and he can make you bang your head against the wall, and he can make you stand up and cheer. But the numbers like him, he does things really well that other people don't do. When you do the little Torvik chart, his little green dot's always like out above everybody else because of something he does. Like he has a really high steal rate for someone who's 6'9" and plays forward/guard. Like next year when he gets a little bit more time to be himself, like he's gonna, I feel like he's really gonna blossom, is at least what the numbers tell me.
Was there anything in the Kansas game that you saw that was uncharacteristic of Baylor? Or maybe I should ask, is there a certain number that Baylor didn't hit, they typically do, that makes them deadly?
I mean, you see Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, and David Mitchell shoot 28% from the field. Like, that ain't happening. Like give them a couple games, like they'll come back in. I mean, we saw with Adam Flagler. Like, it took him a couple games to get back up to speed, and you saw like they had 8 players get COVID. Like, that's not something to scoff about. Like, this messes with your lungs, it messes with your endurance. Like, you're just trying to get your legs back under you, much less get your shooting back under you. I mean, also shooting less than 30% from 3 when they average 40 something. That's just hard to do. I mean, you also see like they competed that entire game, and they had chances to like take it and go take that lead, and they just never took advantage of it. And the whole game, I feel like they played not up to their potential. Like, they were below average defense, below average in offense. I mean, you saw their KenPom ranking just plummet. They went from like 33 to 31, like top 5 in defense to like 16 in defense. Like, that's not them. Like, we saw what they were last year. We saw what they are this year. Like, that defensive points per possession is not them. I know they can get back to it. It's just going to take some more like time getting their legs back under them, getting their shooting back under, and getting their communication back under them. So I would hope by the end of next week or into the Big 12 tournament, they're going to get their legs back under them, and we'll have our confidence back in them.
You know, there is that hope there that Baylor will get back to that level. From what you see in the eye test, not just numbers, but eye test, do you think this Baylor team has a trajectory to be right back there as good as they were? Or could they see themselves in a skid these next couple games as they finish out Big 12 regular season play?
I mean, eye test wise, they're getting those quality shots. They're getting those shots they want. They just got to start falling. And you honestly, with that, how good they are, if they can get a little bit better on defense and some of their shots to start falling, they'll be good to beat most teams, and they just get on a roll. And they'll still probably be a 1 seed, like at worst 2 seed. And you're going to play a 15 seed. You're going to play a 7-10 seed those first 2 weekends at worst. So you're going to have a chance to play a team that you cannot play your best and still beat. So if they take these next 3 games this week, they take the Big 12 tournament, and they take those games, like, eye test wise, they're bound to get back, like at least 1 or 2 of the guys are bound to get back what they were, enough to get them through that first round. And I feel like by the time, if they make the Sweet 16, they'll get rolling again and get ready for that Final Four run.
Justin, outside of basketball and baseball, men's basketball that is, that we've broken down so far, is there another sport where you're seeing a lot of good numbers you want to bring up?
I mean, it's hard because other sports that are fun to watch, it's hard to find stats. Like, you don't have men's tennis stats out there that are easy to find. The women's basketball team's actually doing a really good job ever since their COVID closure. I do them like once a month or something, just because it's so hard to find stats, and they're so good. It would just be me tweeting out like they're versus the Big 12 at everything. by the Bears. Like that would be not entertaining for anybody. But it's fun to see that progression in women's basketball of those freshmen. I think Hannah Gusters is picking it up. Sarah Andrews is picking it up. Dee getting back to herself. And I'm really excited to see what they can do in the tournament. I feel like they could face someone that's going to underestimate them, and they're just going to come at them like a freight train and get that upset, get the final. Like, it's funny to say like upsets getting into the Final Four, but this is a good basketball team that's got some depth and freshmen that were really good, and now they're getting their feet under them in this college basketball game that they should be ready to go. I like to watch the softball team. They don't have a whole lot of stats, and I don't really know too much about softball, but they're doing decent. I think they're getting off. Getting their feet wet, and they should be good going in the rest of the season.
Well, Justin, I'll end it like this. I want to ask you, what is your outlook? What is next for the By the Bears account? Any moves coming up?
What do you mean by moves?
What are your goals? I guess I should say, with this Twitter account and then all the analytics you're pumping out right now.
I mean, I just want to find more and more stats that people will find interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to this next football season. I feel like we have a lot of room to grow. We have a defense that can do really well, so I'm trying to find stuff into that. I'm looking forward to like the NCAA tournament runs, like the NCAA tournament records for this Baylor basketball team and the women's team be like the first Baylor men's basketball team to do yada yada. I mean, I tweeted out like 18-0, first team to start 18-0. Like, I've been waiting to tweet that since we won our first game. It's like there's just those big like record performing program record stats that you're waiting to tweet out that hopefully they can get to. So hopefully we can do really well in this Big 12 and regular season, Big 12 tournament, Big 12 or NCAA tournament, and I can tweet out some fun stuff about that. Be like the first Baylor team to ever do this. I know on the horizon we have a margin for the net margin for our men's team. They're on track to break that, and they're on track to break a lot of program record stat counters.
Justin Andrews, thanks so much for joining the show today. I love getting your input and getting some of the stuff that you're doing right now with By the Bears. It's an awesome account that puts out really quality content that people are enjoying across Baylor Nation. I mean, you're doing a great service. So thanks for really putting that together for folks.
Yeah, you're welcome. If anyone ever needs a stat or is curious about a stat, just tweet at me, message me. I'm more than happy to give you a stat or go look it up for you.
I love it. Justin Andrews joining us today on Up Tempo. Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, we got Doug Feinberg joining the show. Doug, an AP writer for women's basketball, breaking down the Lady Bears conference championship win against Kansas State, as they are now 11 straight conference championship winners. And they have Texas tonight. So we're going to hear from Doug, and we're going to hear from Kim Mulkey later on the show. That all coming up next. This is Up Tempo.
It was a huge weekend in Baylor athletics with nearly a dozen teams in action. Starting on the court, Baylor men's basketball suffered their first loss of the season in a 71-58 defeat at Kansas, where the Jayhawks dominated the glass in the inside game. On the women's side, the Lady Bears clinched at least a share of their 11th straight Big 12 championship in the Farrell Center with an 85-49 drubbing of Kansas State. They're back in action at Texas tonight. To the Diamond, Baylor baseball went 1-2 in Round Rock over the weekend with a 12-4 loss against Texas A&M, a 12-6 win against number 7 Auburn, and a 9-3 loss to number 25 Oklahoma. The softball team went 3-2 in the Lone Star Invitational, splitting 2 games with UConn, falling to Ole Miss 10-4, Mercy ruling Lamar 10-0, and knocking off number 25 Mississippi State 10-6. In track, Baylor's Casey Lightfoot won his 3rd straight Big 12 championship with a jump of 5.9 meters, and the women's 4x4 team swept the conference to take first place in the league. Acro and tumbling kicked off their season as well this weekend for Baylor with a blowout win against Mary Hardin Baylor in Waco, 274-253. And the number 6 volleyball team swept their competition this weekend with a 3-0 win against North Texas and a gritty 3-2 win against Pepperdine. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new, pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, welcome back in Up Tempo today. Happy Monday, everybody. Remote locations today. We're breaking down. Hey, look, party don't stop. Baylor Athletics with a busy weekend this last weekend all across the board. And one of the highlights of the weekend, a Big 12 championship, the 11th straight for the Lady Bears against Kansas State on Saturday. On the show, AP National Women's Basketball writer Doug Feinberg joining us to break things down on the Lady Bears side of things and the women's basketball side of things. Doug, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Hope you guys are doing all right in Texas. I know it's a crazy time down there right now.
Oh, it is, man. Things have been crazy the last couple of weeks. I was just saying, the whole winter weather storm threw us for a loop, and they said, look, you're going to need to play in case the once in 100 year weather hits again, you're going to need a backup plan. And instead of that, well, we got some other extenuating circumstances that have us going remote today, but we were ready for it. We're prepared.
always be prepared, right? Isn't that the Boy Scout motto? I think, it's been a crazy last year, so why not have a once-in-a-100-year storm when we have a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, right? So it works out well that way for you guys.
Doug, we got the Impact Health Labs caller line. We have the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line where folks can chat live with us. And we just got a text, I guess already, you've been on for about 30 seconds now, but before we can conduct the rest of the interview, somebody asks if you are a mob boss. Can you confirm or deny? That's not a common accent we get around here in Texas.
No comment, right? Isn't that the best way to say that? But no, I'm not a mob boss. I can promise you that. So. If I was, I wouldn't tell you, but no.
Right, of course. We can continue the interview then, though. And, Doug, where I want to start, Baylor women's basketball, they are perennial. It is every year. You expect them to be at the top of the game, and they struggled a little bit in the middle of their season, had a couple of close games, and they're just now finding their footing. What are you seeing in Kim Mulkey's squad this season?
I mean, let's be honest. They struggled because they had the 2-week pause or the pause for the virus that knocked Kim out for a couple of games when she actually had it. I think at Christmas she got it. So like every other team, when you're out for 2 weeks with the virus, it just messes up your mojo, so to speak. So they're sort of hitting their stride. As I said, it's a crazy year with teams playing sort of start and stop, so you can't get a rhythm going. But they're going in the right direction. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country. No doubt. I think the poll just came out as the godfather of the poll, so to speak, with the mob boss there.
Nice.
They moved up to number 6 this week, so they're in really good shape for where they expected to be.
Doug, when the opening bracketology came out with ESPN a couple weeks ago, Baylor was at 10, and it almost felt like, from someone that covers the Lady Bears, the hotter they were getting, 10 was a little disrespectful, and the team has responded to that by just tearing through opponents since then. Did you feel like them coming out at 10 was a little bit low, or is that what they've shown you so far?
I think they're at 10 because just lack of quality wins. I mean, they got hurt. The UConn game was wiped out because of the virus. That would have been, whether we win or lose, that's a quality game. So obviously you see how good they are at that point in January. No offense to the Big 12, it's not what it's been. I mean, West Virginia's played really well. Texas has been hot and cold, the team they're playing tonight. I just don't think there's that many great teams in the Big 12, like some of the other conferences, that can sort of get them quality wins to move them up higher than 10 early on.
Doug, we were worried too. Early on in this season, it was Game 3 that Baylor won. I mean, how often is it that Baylor starts the season 2-1? They fell by 5 at number 16 Arkansas, and Arkansas is shown to be spotty this year, inconsistent, as they've knocked off Baylor and UConn now, but they lose to a team like Georgia. With that, I think Bears fans were a little bit worried on what this season would bring. Then the Iowa State loss off the COVID break really just tanks a lot of morale for the program. But since then, it's been all Baylor. Are they clicking like a Final Four team now?
They definitely are. I mean, also, wasn't Carrington out for a bit, if I remember correctly? And then they obviously had Richards out early on after the freak accident in practice. Like, they're finally healthy, finally together, and they are clicking. You're 100% right. And I think they're poised to make a deep run into March, potentially Final Four, if not national champions.
When you look to, Doug, across the top 10 this season, and there's a lot of parity. I mean, maybe more so than I've seen in women's basketball in the last decade or so, in just the top 2 or 3 teams losing every other week, it seems like. Typically you've got 4 or 5 that don't lose for month-long spans or more, but there has been more movement that I've seen in a while. What do you make of that? Has there been more parity than normal this season?
There has. We've had 5 number 1 teams in the poll, which is the second most ever. And again, that counts a team going from number 1, losing, coming back in number 1. But really, it's been exciting. I mean, take this hat off, put 10 teams in there, and throw up the hat and pick out whoever. That's who can win the national championship. I think they're, for the first time in a long time, I couldn't tell you if everyone played their best game, who would be the national champion. Because then there's just that much parity in this crazy year that there are a lot of teams that could win it all. And that's great for basketball. That's what you like. I mean, if you go into a season, you know who's going to win it already, why play it?
We have heard, Doug, from Bruce Geets and the voice of Lady Bears. We've heard from Kim Mulkey and Gino Auriemma. A lot of them have said the same things, that there are a lot of really good basketball teams this season, but no great basketball team. Teams can be great on certain nights, but there's not one that stands out above the rest. Would you agree with that assessment?
I would never question Kim Mulkey and Gino Auriemma when their knowledge of basketball. And I think they're 100% right in the sense that every team, I think, has at least a flaw somewhere. I mean, UConn's number one. They're led by a freshman who's never played the NCAA tournament before. They have no senior leadership. They're going to be sitting on the road for 3 weeks potentially in San Antonio. Who knows how a young team's going to handle that? And you work your way down to teams that are doing well. Who knows how good or bad they're going to be come crunch time? And I think it is wide open. And I think there are a lot of really good teams. There are some great teams, but no unbeatable teams.
One of the things that I wanted to get into a little bit later, and I'll start now since you mentioned it, was San Antonio. I had a conversation with one of the women's basketball players here the other day. It was actually about academics. The fact that they're going to be in San Antonio in that bubble for what maybe 3 weeks for a lot of those players, and they're going to be doing school too. You know, it's crazy. You think they're student athletes at the same time. How different is that going to be for these programs to be confined now to one city for an entire span of the NCAA tournament?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, they haven't come out with the rules yet, so to speak. But, man, if I have to stay in my hotel room if I'm a player, except to go out to practice, to eat, and to games for 3 weeks, that's not fun. That's not a great student-athlete experience. I mean, that's a business trip, so to speak, and probably worse than a business trip because you can't do anything besides schoolwork and basketball. So, you know, if we were talking about great teams, I think Stanford might be the best positioned team for this because they were on that road for a month when they couldn't play at home because of the coronavirus issues in Santa Clara. So they've been through this in a sense where they weren't at home. They were in hotels for a month in Vegas, in California, in Oregon, wherever it was. So they've already been through this. They have good leadership. I think that's going to be a huge, huge factor that there may be teams that can't handle this, that aren't used to it, that could get upset because maybe a senior-laden team is more experience and can sort of deal with the mental issues that may come along with being cooped up for 3 straight weeks.
Doug, I want to ask you, I want to play a little version of buy or sell. I didn't expect to do this, but as I look down the AP top 10, you almost have to. A team like NC State, we've seen them lose now a couple games where you're like, oh, well, that was interesting. Buy or sell NC State in the Final Four this season?
I'll buy it because they did lose games. Elise Cunane didn't play in one of them. I forget she missed one for coronavirus, so that you throw that game out. They're the only team to beat 2 number ones on the road, which I think is pretty impressive. So beating Louisville and beating South Carolina early on, who else can say that? And the answer is nobody. I don't think anyone in the last 20 years has been able to do that. So, again, they have a good senior leadership. They play good defense. I buy NC State.
Arkansas, buy or sell Elite Eight?
Elite Eight. I'll sell that. I don't think that you can win without playing defense. And there's no question. They can put points on the board. Mike Neighbors does a tremendous job there. Chelsea Dungy's great. Destiny Slocum's great. But I just think you have to be able to play a tight, close game in the NCAA tournament, probably in the 60s, and I don't think they can do that.
Don Staley in South Carolina out before the Elite Eight. Buy or sell?
I'll sell that. I think they're gonna come together. Again, they're a team that's young, and I think that they could have a chance to make a nice run here. They lost obviously to A&M yesterday, who's a really good team, and as again senior-laden team and transfer-laden team. I would say I'll sell that, although it's probably close to a hold because I think there is a chance of the wrong draw they could go out earlier in the Elite Eight.
How about this? 2 5 seeds or lower in the Elite Eight, buy or sell?
I'll buy that because you know why? I think, and I've heard coaches say this to me, this is going to be potentially the craziest tournament ever because there's no home court advantage. For the first time ever, all 63 games are being played on a neutral court. And I think that's something you see on the men's side all the time, right? The 5-12 game is always the upset special on the men's side. I think on the women's side, you're going to see upsets galore because there isn't that home advantage. You're not playing in front of your home fans. There might not be any fans in these games. And again, I think senior-laden teams have a better chance to do well in this tournament than some of the younger teams. A lot of the top teams have a lot of great young talent.
How about this one? And I think this almost every year, this would be a lock, a sell without a doubt. But this season, Final Four, 2 or more, 2 seeds or lower in the Final Four, buy or sell.
2 or more. That's a perfect line right there. You know, I'll go sell. I think that, again, assuming that the reveal that came out the other day, I think Stanford will be there. I think that UConn will be there. So 2 or more, or 2 more than 2. If it's just 2 or more, I might actually have to go buy, because then there might be 2 number ones in there and then 2 below that.
Give me this. Buy or sell the tournament in San Antonio, the different brackets, quadrants being named after local monuments. That makes players more excited to play in it. Buy or sell?
Let's go sell. You know, I mean, like, I'm excited to see the Alamo. I was there 10 years ago, wherever it was, for the last Final Four. I mean, I petitioned the committee to name a region after me, but that didn't work out so well. So I'm going to have to make a little card saying the Feinberg region. But, you know, I think it's going to be exciting for them nonetheless, just to play in a tournament and to sort of be locked in that they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to about travel. Hopefully COVID won't be an issue. So I'll say that they're not going to be that excited for the names. Although, listen, who doesn't like a good Mercado region, right?
Hey, I'm looking forward to the Riverwalk region. I mean, come on, what more could you want out of a tournament in San Antonio? What I want to do, Doug, and thanks for playing that little game. I didn't know we'd get into that, but man, I've just got a lot of questions. I wanted to pick your brain with the craziness that is women's basketball this year. But on the Baylor side, now 11 straight Big 12 championships for Kim Mulkey and company. Are you surprised whatsoever? I mean, it just seems automatic at this point.
I'm not surprised, because she's done a tremendous job as a coach developing talent. She's done a great job with the transfer portal, getting kids in to sort of supplement what she needs. And she's just a heck of a coach. I mean, she's fiery. She's excitable. She gets the best out of her players. Listen, they're still defending champs, right? Because there was no tournament last year, so they have that crown, so to speak, still. I'm not surprised. I guess I'm a little disappointed in the rest of the conference. You'd think they would have sort of come up a little bit more. I mean, Oklahoma has struggled at the start of the year, but they've been coming on late to play pretty well. West Virginia's done a nice job. I think Texas will right its ship once Vic Schaefer gets his players in there, so to speak, as opposed to the ones he inherited from the previous group with Karen Aston. But no, I mean, she's set the standard in that conference for the last decade plus, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
That's kind of where I wanted to go to with tonight and the Texas game on the docket in Austin. What do you see out of Vic Schaefer's group? They've obviously been inconsistent this season, and they lost to Baylor 60-35 in the last meeting between the two teams here in Waco. But now being in the Irwin Center, playing at home, last couple of games this season, still a little bit on the line at 16-7, shooting for an NCAA tournament bid. They've still got a lot to play for. What do you make of tonight's game?
I got to think that Texas won't have an offensive performance like they did against last time they played. I mean, listen, Baylor played tremendous defense. Charlie Collier is a really talented player, but she had 2 points and 3 shots, I believe, in that first game. If they have any chance to win the game tonight, that can't happen again. I mean, she's projected to potentially be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. You can't have a 2-point night against good competition. That raises a lot of red flags. So let's throw that game out. For Texas to have any chance tonight, she's got to have one of those Charlie Collier games, 20-plus points, probably 12 to 14 rebounds, and just be a presence inside so that Baylor has to adjust their defense and make other players hit shots. And if they hit shots, they could give Baylor a good game tonight, but I got to think that Baylor wants to win this thing outright, take care of business tonight, so to speak, and show that they're still the best team in the Big 12.
Baylor has not shot the 3 ball very well at all this year. They're averaging I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're averaging somewhere around 5 made 3-pointers a game. It seems like every game you look at it, they'll make between 3 or 6. Any night where they make 7 is kind of crazy. But is that going to hurt them down the stretch? Is that something they need to develop as a team? Or are they going to be okay without that long-range shot?
I mean, the game has definitely trended out to the 3-point line and stretch 4s and stretch 5s. you have to be able to hit some threes to loosen up the defenses a bit. I mean, teams may try to zone them up a bit and sort of cut out the interior. And I think that, if they can't hit 6 threes in a game in the NCAA tournament, they could be sent home earlier than they should be because other teams may be able to shoot well from the outside. I mean, listen, Arkansas hit 19 threes the other day to set the SEC record in a game. If they play a team like that, you can't trade 3 for 2 and expect to win many games.
With the, and I got kind of away from myself there as we're breaking down Texas Baylor tonight, Nalissa Smith and Dee Richards complement each other so well. Dee Richards is a player that can go out, have 11 boards, 7 assists, 3 points, and still have done her job on any given night for Baylor. With the tandem of Richards and Nalissa Smith, now mix in Moon Urson to that, is that really the 3 that you look at being, okay, this is where Baylor is really good?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice big 3 right there. I mean, they complement each other well. I think that they give them a nice sort of group to build around, so to speak, that Kim's done a great job doing. I think you explained it well. Like, you hate comparing guys to women and such, but like Draymond Green has played that role for the Golden State Warriors for so many years, where he may get 3 points, but fills up the stat sheet stuff for doing the rebounds, the assists, the blocks, the steals, and you need players like that. If everyone wants to take 20 shots a game, it's not going to work. There's only one basketball for 5 players on the court. So you need that sort of stat sheet stuffer to make the glue player to make everyone else better and to not have to take the shots, to be able to do the dirty work, so to speak, to play great defense on the opposing team's best player. And she fills that role very, very well.
I know you mentioned Dejanay Carrington there for a second, and for me, we've talked about it on the show. I think Dejanay Carrington is the player that makes Baylor a Final Four contender. Coming off the bench and averaging double digits so far, she has been the X factor when they need points down the stretch a lot of times. When you see the roster, is there a player that sticks out to you that you say, this is the girl that is going to make Baylor a Final Four contender?
I mean, you just mentioned her. I mean, Carrington has been that for Stanford. I mean, she's been to the Final Four before, knows what it takes, and I think she's the player that you need someone off the bench to provide a spark, and she does that and can do a very good job for them. So if one of their starting 5 is off, she comes in as that 6th woman, and I think could be that X factor to get them to the Final Four. And many coaches have said that when you get to the Final Four, you need some player to get you to the championship game, to have that special game to get you there. And I think Carrington might be the one for Baylor if they can get to that national semifinals.
With this team, too, in looking at what Baylor had last season, there was a real shot that I think Baylor, not a lock for the Final Four, but they had a really, really high chance of getting there last season. And then the year before that with a national championship team. Where does this squad rank amongst those? I know before I asked that, it's kind of a loaded question. There's no Lauren Cox. There's no Kalani Brown on this team, but it's a different style of play. Do you see a team that's as good or maybe a step behind? Where do you put the comparison?
Well, let's go this way. The calendar just turned to March today, and you sort of make your legend lore in March. So it's probably too early to say they could be as good or in the same breath as some of the other teams Baylor have had that's been very successful. This team has a chance to be very talented, or is very talented, has a chance to leave its own mark in the Baylor lore and win a national championship. But to sort of put them in that group right now, and they haven't won the Big 12 tournament yet, they haven't won an NCAA tournament yet, it's tough to put them in that group because, again, we have the biggest games of the season are coming up the next month.
And do you think, look at a team like NC State or a team like Stanford that have faced tough competition? It's a question we're asking on the men's side, too, with Gonzaga. Gonzaga faced a great schedule in the non-conference. They go to their conference slate, and there's nobody there. It's non-existent. It's kind of like that for Baylor. It's weird to say, but the Big 12, as streaky as some of these teams have been, is not a very good conference in women's basketball. Is it tough for a team like Baylor to turn around from a slate in which they're playing okay competition right into the thicket of the NCAA tournament? Is that turnaround good or bad? Do you want a tough slate to prepare you? Would you rather be in the ACC? What are your thoughts?
Well, I look at it this way. You only can play who's in front of you. And I think Kim did a nice job early on scheduling that, playing Arkansas. They played Missouri State in that first couple days, or another team down there in that tournament was pretty good. So they challenged themselves early, and they had obviously the loss to Iowa State, which is a tight game. Whereas again, comparing to the UConn that for years was in the American, they were, I think, 100-0 in that conference. And it's like, well, they're beating everyone by 30 points. Are you going to be ready for the NCAA tournament? And sure enough, they lost to Mississippi State in overtime, the first close game they had, lost to Notre Dame the next year in overtime. So they weren't in those tight games. I mean, listen, you don't know if players freeze up or they're just not used to it, but you have to wonder about that. I think Baylor's okay because they have played some tight games this year, so they know what to do in those situations. I think they'll be okay. Long run, if they keep on not playing anybody down the road, maybe it hurts them. But I think the Big 12 will rise back up. As I said, Schaefer's going to do a nice job at Texas. They'll get back to where they were as being one of the teams talked about in the national landscape. I think there'll be other teams. West Virginia, as I said, Oklahoma State's been good for a couple of years. So there'll be other teams up there to challenge Baylor and keep them competitive in the conference, so to speak, even though they keep on winning it. So I'm not as concerned about them not having tight games or not having a good conference slate that they they haven't played a close game. They might be in trouble come the NCAAs.
I want to ask you this too, Doug, and man, I love picking your brain here on women's basketball. It's seldom we get somebody that really covers the entire spectrum of the sport across the board. But looking at Big 12 play, and Big 12 coaches like Sherry Cole at Oklahoma right now, she really made her bet as one of the best coaches in the Big 12 and had perennial runs of success battles with Kim Mulkey. And that's kind of regressed in the last couple of years, especially. Is that program on a downtrend that you think is going to continue, or does OU have a shot to bounce back in the next couple of years?
I was really worried at the start of the year. They were struggling big time. I don't know if they had corona issues, they had injury issues. I mean, I think the last 3 or 4 years she's had like 7 players maybe healthy, and you can't win consistently with that. So yeah, when I first started covering women's basketball in 2007, Oklahoma was really, really good. Even before that, I mean, with the Stacey Dales era in the early 2000s. But Courtney Paris, I mean, they were in the Final Four almost every year it seemed, and they were competing for championships, and that's not happening anymore. I don't know. I don't think I can say right now, and I don't want to sort of put the obit on Oklahoma yet, because Sherry's done a great job for so many years. Yeah. I think they can get better, and I think they have shown lately they can beat teams. So are they going to get back to where they were a decade ago? That might be tough, but I think they'll be competitive. I think they're going to sort of be a team that could be competitive in the Big 12 for the next few years.
And then I remember vividly I remember where I was standing. It's so odd to think, but when I got the news that Vic Schaefer had been hired at Texas, because my fingers were crossed that they would go for some random mid-major school's head coach, and no, they flipping landed Vic Schaefer. What do you think his ceiling at UT is in a program that has you look at the Aston years, and by the end of her tenure, there was a lot to clean up around that program just from an aura standpoint and even on the court and their performance. What is Vic Schaefer's ceiling walking into what may be a ticking time bomb with that athletic program?
Well, listen, Aston obviously had some issues late. She ran into the UConn buzzsaw a couple times, some really good teams that I think had the chance to make the Final Four if they were in a different bracket. But you ran to UConn when they had Stewart, Tuck, and Jefferson. It was tough to beat them no matter who you were. I think Vic has a chance. I mean, listen, what he did at Mississippi State was incredible. So he's shown he can get to the national championship level consistently. So add that to a school like Texas, and no offense to Mississippi State, but Texas cares about athletics very, very much, and they don't like losing. I think the resources can be there for him, that they could be a national level team, top 5 team consistently once he starts getting his players in there. And I think they can win national championships, no question. I mean, he's shown he can do it at Mississippi State. To get there, why not win a title at Texas?
And then, Doug, I want to get final question for you. I want to get your thoughts on tonight's game and how you think this thing will end up for Kim Mulkey and company. Is tonight the night where they solidify their 11th straight Big 12 championship alone?
Yeah, I think Texas will probably come out early with some fire, but I think Baylor is just too much firepower for them to be able to stay with them. I don't know what the fan situation is there. I'm guessing they can probably have a few fans in the arena, but not a full house. They're going to pipe
in the crowd noise, without a doubt.
But I got to think that Baylor just has enough weapons right now on offense, and if it can play really good defense, that they'll come away with a victory and clinch that outright title for an 11th straight year.
And then, Doug, I know I said that was the last question, but I lied. If you today had to build your Final Four with how well the teams across the top 10 are playing, or maybe past the top 10 if you like a dark horse in there, who do you really like? I won't make you narrow it down to 4, but who are the top couple of teams that you're really high on as it sits?
Well, listen, I've been to the Final Four every year since 2008, and coincidentally, UConn's been there every year, and I clearly had a lot to do with that. Not the players, not the coach. It's just the fact that I was covering it. So I'd be a fool to pick against UConn making the Final Four for 14th straight year. Or 13th straight year. I think, as I said, Stanford has a senior leadership that they've been through this, that they'll be there. I like Michigan. Naz Hillman, 50 points in a game against a top 25 team, that's pretty good. And if you have a player, years ago on the men's side, you had Danny Manning carried Kansas to the championship, I think, or the Final Four that year, that you could have Naz Hillman put up numbers to get Michigan to make a run. They're number 12 in the country, so not really a dark horse. But they could be there, I think, and be a team that could make a run deep in the NCAA tournament that people aren't really talking about. They were outside the top 16 in the reveal the other day. But I think that's another team that could make it that far.
We just got a text, like I told you, on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line that we have open. Stores, this is 475. Oh, it's Gino Auriemma. They're renaming the arena Feinberg Arena. Oh, my goodness. Hey, 12 straight. Oh, my. I guess you got to be rewarded somehow.
As I said, I'm sure a lot to do with that. Not the players like Maya Moore, Tina Charles, Renee Montgomery, Breanna Stewart, now Paige Beckers. It's all clear the media that gets them there. Because when we write things that don't go well with teams, we get blamed for it. So when we write good things, we're the success stories as well. So we'll see.
Wow, proud to know you now. Thank you so much, Doug, for bringing that expertise on. And listen, if you want to ever move down to Waco and sprinkle a little bit of that luck on the Baylor women's program, I don't know if they need it, but I wouldn't mind.
They're doing quite well without me, and they're doing a great job this year. And I think we'll see them stay in Texas, obviously, and potentially reach the Final Four, if not a national championship this year.
I love it. Doug, thanks again for joining the show today.
Thanks, man. My pleasure.
Once again, that was Doug Feinberg, AP National Women's Basketball writer, talking about Baylor and the rest of the country. The AP Top 10, your Lady Bears are in Austin tonight to face UT, Vic Schaefer, and the Lady Longhorns. When we come back from this break, Matthew Postins joins us to break down gameplay across the Big 12 in men's basketball. Oklahoma State going at it tonight, and we're recapping Baylor's loss to Kansas and the Bears game tomorrow against West Virginia in Morgantown. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong Sims is somewhere out in the void. When we come back, Matthew Postins joins us. This is Up Tempo.
It was a huge weekend in Baylor athletics with nearly a dozen teams in action. Starting on the court, Baylor men's basketball suffered their first loss of the season in a 71-58 defeat at Kansas, where the Jayhawks dominated the glass in the inside game. On the women's side, the Lady Bears clinched at least a share of their 11th straight Big 12 championship in the Farrell Center with an 85-49 drubbing of Kansas State. They're back in action at Texas tonight. To the Diamond, Baylor baseball went 1-2 in Round Rock over the weekend with a 12-4 loss against Texas A&M, a 12-6 win against number 7 Auburn, and a 9-3 loss to number 25 Oklahoma. The softball team went 3-2 in the Lone Star Invitational, splitting 2 games with UConn, falling to Ole Miss 10-4. Mercy ruling Lamar 10-0 and knocking off number 25 Mississippi State 10-6. In track, Baylor's Casey Lightfoot won his 3rd straight Big 12 championship with a jump of 5.9 meters, and the women's 4x4 team swept the conference to take first place in the league. Acro and tumbling kicked off their season as well this weekend for Baylor with a blowout win against Mary Hardin Baylor in Waco, 274-253. And the number 6 volleyball team swept their competition this weekend with a 3-0 win against North Texas and a gritty 3-2 win against Pepperdine. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, welcome back in what used to be the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I am Drake Toll, joined by Matthew Postins today, breaking down things across men's basketball in the Big 12. You know what? The new normal for Up Tempo for at least this week, but we're making it work. Matthew, thanks for being a part of that.
Hey, no problem, guys. I've been doing the new normal for about a year now. So it's been, let's see, 345 days since I was in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament when it was canceled last year. So, yeah.
Yep.
Been working from home for a while.
We are right there on the cusp of the 1-year anniversary. I think it's March 13th or somewhere right in there that things really fell apart last year. So it's getting to be around that time where everything changed across the scope of college basketball. And you know what? Let's start right there, because that is a big part of what has kept Baylor men's basketball down these last couple of games. That COVID stint that they had to break for 3 weeks. Michigan came back from their break ready to roll. They had 9 days of practice. They shut down their facilities, and it ended up paying off because they gave their guys some time to rest up and get ready. Baylor had 2 days of practice going into Iowa State, and then you saw on Saturday there just wasn't anything left in that tank where they usually go on that run and win a ball game. They didn't have it there. What did you see in that game against Kansas?
That's exactly what I saw. I saw a team that just wasn't quite there. And I thought it was interesting. Jay Billis was calling the game, and he was talking about how Scott Drew actually called around to different coaches and asked them, hey, how long did it take you guys to get through this? To finally feel normal again. And they said it took about 3 games. So if you're Baylor, you're kind of thrilled that the Big 12 canceled that game with West Virginia last Thursday. And if you're West Virginia, you're not happy at all about it, because you probably missed a golden opportunity to beat Baylor while they were down. I think what really killed Baylor in this game, and I'm a little surprised that this hasn't been a bigger problem for them this year, just because they don't have a whole lot of size inside. They were dramatically out-rebounded by Kansas, and David McCormick really had no hand in it, because Jalen Wilson and Christian Brown, who combined for 23 rebounds in that game. Baylor has good athletic inside guys, but they're not huge. They're not going to move people around. They do what they do well. But when you play a team that crashes the glass like Kansas does, that could be a tricky thing to do. And if you don't have, like you said, you don't have the guards who seem to make that run in the last 6-8 minutes of a close game, that's what you see. So I think this is a good time for Baylor to experience this loss, because you don't want to go into the Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament with somewhat of a false sense of security. I did not think Baylor was going to finish the regular season undefeated, as good as this conference is. It's not the West Coast Conference. It's not Gonzaga, going through like a knife through hot butter in that conference. So this is a chance for, I think, Scott Drew to really reset these guys and get them ready for the stretch run. They get 3 games to work through this week. Whether they win or lose those games, it really doesn't dramatically influence my feeling about them going into the NCAA tournament. I think they're a 1 or a 2 seed. I think they're probably more of a 1 at this point. But I still think they could be highly successful in the NCAA tournament no matter what happens this week. It's more about getting them back in playing shape at this point.
Would you say that Baylor basketball's kryptonite this season is a healthy dose of COVID-19 and a big man that can rebound? I mean, is that what's going to hurt this team down the stretch, this COVID break, and then a squad that can really crash the glass and score on the inside?
Yeah, I think those are the two things that could hurt them. But conversely to that, they faced a great big man in Illinois in December, and they handled him just fine. I think the way you neutralize a big man, and Gonzaga has some good inside guys if Baylor has the opportunity to play them at some point, it's going to be how their guards play. It's going to be how consistent their guards can be from outside and open those lanes up for Flo Thamba and Jonathan Chama-Chachua to knife into the lane, get the ball, be athletic, do the things they do well. And that's going to be the difference in handling those bigger guys. The good news for Baylor is there aren't too many of those guys in Division I anymore. A lot of teams are playing more athletic bigs who can play to the outside, who can shoot mid-range, who can shoot 3. They can still rebound, but they're not anchored to the paint like a player like David McCormick or TCU's Kevin Samuel. There aren't too many of those guys around. So Baylor fits the mold of the other teams that'll probably be successful in this NCAA tournament, and that plays to their advantage.
With this squad, too, we saw Jared Butler go cold on Saturday. Davion Mitchell took 15 shots. Maceo Teague took 20 shots. Is it going to, we've mentioned all year almost, there's a team by committee, which is a weird thing to say, but it's not, you could take Jared Butler out of the mix, take Maceo Teague out of the mix, take Adam Flagler, and you're still going to have a team that's one of the top teams in the country on a night where somebody plays poorly. But we saw Jared Butler really just, I don't want to say laid an egg necessarily, but he didn't play to his maximum potential or really near it. So on a night where Jared Butler doesn't play well and Baylor gets beat by 13 on the road, do you attribute that to Butler not being his typical self? Is that what Baylor's looking at if Jared Butler doesn't put up 15 or 20 points in a game?
Well, I think the difference there is if you look at, you talked about Mitchell taking 15 and Teague taking 20. They shot a combined 12 of 35. So it's not, I'm okay with them shooting 35 combined shots if Jared Butler's having a bad game, but you've got to shoot a better percentage than that. That was the bigger issue. If Jared Butler or one of those other guys has a bad game, it's not just that somebody else picks up. They shoot at a high percentage. And that's going to be the difference if that happens again in the Big 12 tournament or the NCAA tournament. You got to have a couple of guys step up who are going to shoot a high percentage. If they had shot 10% better, those two guys, they might have won that game simply by the sheer force of that alone. So Butler had a bad night. Butler's had a few off nights this year. This was really the first truly bad night that I think he's had at all this season. I think he bounces back against West Virginia. He's one of those guys who he doesn't go more than 20, 30 minutes with a bad stretch. I thought Kansas did a good job of focusing on him, putting Marcus Garrett on him a lot, kind of, rotating different guys on him and just making his life miserable all evening.
How about Matthew? We had Doug just a second ago joining on Skype, Doug Feinberg, talking women's basketball. We played a little game of buy or sell, and I'm not too privy to that, but today it kind of worked out. It was kind of a quick hitters on the women's basketball side. I want to kind of do that with you and get your thoughts on not just the rest of this week, but moving forward in the Big 12. How about Baylor and West Virginia tomorrow? Baylor loses on the road in Morgantown at 4 p.m. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell. I think Baylor has just there's too many good players on that team to go 2 games the way they played against Kansas. I don't see them playing that way against West Virginia. They've got, they get 3 days to rest. I think it'll be their 3rd game back from COVID, more than a week of workouts. I think they'll be in better shape. I think they'll be in a better mindset. West Virginia is going to give them a heck of a ball game. The advantage that West Virginia has is their last 4 games are at home in conference play. So I would actually take Baylor in that game on the road. And I think they'll win. I think it's going to be one of those last possession games. Teams have gone into, West Virginia and won this year. Not very many, but a couple of them have done it. And I think Baylor's equipped to do it.
How about this? West Virginia's last 3 games at home against number 3 Baylor, against TCU at home, and then at home against Oklahoma State as well. If they end up going, they could end up right now being 10-4 in conference play. If they sweep those games, they will be the 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament. Buy or sell West Virginia number 2 in the Big 12 this season?
I'm going to buy, because I don't think they're going to lose 2 out of 3. They may lose to Baylor, but I think they're going to beat TCU. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma State. Even, Oklahoma State will have played 2 games that week by then. So will West Virginia, but Oklahoma State will have had to travel a little bit. And West Virginia, like I said, they've been home since basically Wednesday of last week, and they're not going anywhere until they go to Kansas City. So they know the big difference. If they lose 2 games, they fall into that tie with Kansas, which is already done. I think, I'm trying to remember the tiebreakers. I think they split. Yep. So I don't know where that tiebreaker goes from there, but I don't think West Virginia wants any part of that at this point. So I'm buying them winning 2 of their last 3.
How about this? In that scenario, West Virginia and Kansas would play if things fall through, or if things go through the Big 12 tournament as they should from a seeding standpoint. West Virginia, Kansas will be in the semifinal, and then Baylor and Oklahoma State in the other to play for a Big 12 championship. Buy or sell Kansas Jayhawks Big 12 championship appearance in the tournament?
Big 12 tournament championship game appearance. I'm selling. I think that West Virginia can get them on a neutral court. I like what Bob Huggins is doing with their defense overall. I think Derek Culver, the second time they played Kansas, Derek Culver had a really good game. Granted, that was in Morgantown. But, when they play Baylor Tuesday night, watch for the fact that they're going to try and run through things through Derek Culver. I think that's going to be their avenue early in the game to try and get things going against the Bears. But, West Virginia is playing so well right now, not just inside, but outside in the perimeter. They're much deeper than Kansas. Kansas can really only play about 7 guys, and only 5 of them at a quality level. I think even with the game being in Kansas City, with only 20% of the fans and Kansas not having that quote-unquote home court advantage that they usually have, I think West Virginia can pull it out and get into the championship game.
6 teams. So the Big 12 is going to get 7 teams in the NCAA tournament. Now it's a matter of seeding who's going to be where. Buy or sell 6 teams from the Big 12 in the Sweet 16?
Oh, wow.
It's a tough buy. It's a tough buy.
It is a very tough buy. If I'm going by this, here's the rub. The rub is Oklahoma State. Jerry Palm thinks they're a 4 right now, which I think is a little high. Joe Lunardi in his last bracketology had them as an 8. That's a big difference in who you play in the second round. And that's really what you're projecting toward if you're thinking about getting to the Sweet 16. I think I'd probably sell and be more comfortable saying 5 will get to the Sweet 16.
And then for the Elite 8, buy or sell 3 Big 12 teams in the Elite 8?
I could I would buy that. It's happened before. It's happened a couple of different times. They haven't gotten 3 teams to the Final Four like the Big East did back in 1985, but they've gotten 3 teams to the Elite Eight before. There are 5 teams that are certainly talented enough to do it in this conference right now. I could certainly see that happening.
How about this? Buy or sell Texas Tech to the Elite Eight this season?
I would sell at this point. It's really hard to say that because I feel like they're one of those teams that is built for that kind of a tournament because they're so good defensively. They have that mindset, but they've just been so hot and cold offensively this year. And I thought they were getting really close to kind of getting stabilized, and then they had that week and a half break because they had teams go down due to COVID plus the weather. So they came back, and then they lose to Oklahoma State. They got a nice win over Texas on Saturday. They may get it going the next couple of weeks going into the NCAA tournament and get back to being a consistent offensive team they were before that break. But that's the thing I worry about with them. If it's a low-scoring game, they're going to be in it. If they let the scoring get away from them, they're not consistent enough to keep up in a 70, 80-point game.
Say that Baylor ends up going 3-3 over their next stretch. So they say they'll go 1-2 to finish off the regular season, which I think is possible. That's kind of where I'm looking at with Baylor right now, is they're limping a little bit, and then they end up winning maybe a couple of games in the Big 12 tournament before losing, finish 3-3 going into the NCAA tournament. Buy or sell Baylor out before the Elite Eight, if that's the case?
I would sell. I still think they're an Elite Eight team even in that scenario. And I think, like I said, I think the loss to Kansas could end up being a good thing for them because it can help them reset their mindset going into the next couple of weeks. Scott Drew is a really good coach and a really good motivator. He understands what makes this team tick. They're a veteran team. They're not going to panic if they kind of, if they're sluggish down the stretch. I still think even in that scenario, they can make the Elite Eight.
And then this is the last one for you. It's a tough one. I know they've all been tough, but buy or sell Scott Drew National Coach of the Year?
Boy, I'm going to have to sell because I think it's going to be Nate Oates at Alabama. He's done a really good job there. That's a program where they haven't had a lot of basketball tradition, certainly not like the football team. They've been in the top 10, top 15 all year. They could be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think voters tend to lean toward coaches that have had that really big success with the program that hasn't always had it most years. If it's not going to be Nate Oates, I could imagine voters giving it to Mark Few at Gonzaga, especially if they go undefeated. And remember, that vote takes place before the NCAA tournament begins, so you're only taking into account the regular season and the conference tournament. So I'd have to sell on Scott Drew being the National Coach of the Year, even though, I feel like, he's certainly deserving of that honor.
We had the same conversation on the show. I guess it's probably been a couple weeks ago now, where I too said that Mark Few is at the top of my list right now, just for what he's done at Gonzaga this season. I don't think you can discount that. And I'm glad you said Nate Oates too. I didn't even think Nate Oates. And if Arkansas continues their run, I think now you're looking at Eric Musselman, who will be in that conversation as well, as they look really hot. And then Juwan Howard. I mean, there will be 5 or 6 candidates at the end of this year that are really right there for that award. But in tonight's game, I'll run out a couple of these. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. OU just lost at home in overtime. Cade Cunningham with a 40-piece. Now they go to Stillwater, where Oklahoma is still favored by 1.5 tonight. What do you see in that game?
I think Oklahoma wins. I don't think they're going to go 2 games to Oklahoma State and lose. Austin Reeves played great in that game against Oklahoma State, and what Cade Cunningham did really overshadowed that. Still waiting for Brady Manick to be Brady Manick. There were some flashes there a couple of weeks ago where I thought he was, starting to gather some momentum, and then he kind of took a step back again. And it's been a tough season for everybody, whether you've had COVID or not. We've seen a lot of players kind of rise up and peak and valley, and I just feel like Oklahoma is such a much better team when he's playing at a high level. And if he can somehow get himself right the next couple of weeks going into the NCAA tournament, that just makes Oklahoma that much more dangerous. But I think they get their revenge tonight at Oklahoma State.
And then I'll end things here. I know we're running a little bit short on time here. Baylor looking forward, Oklahoma State. Baylor, Oklahoma State on Thursday. Cade Cunningham coming to town. This is the first time Baylor will see Cade Cunningham. What do you make of that game in the Farrell Center?
I think that they're going to put probably put Davion and/or Maceo, probably both at various times, on Cade Cunningham. It's not as big a mismatch as you might think. I know Cade's 6'8", he plays 4 different positions, but it's not as big a mismatch from that standpoint as you might think. Yeah. They might even throw a little Mark Vital in there. I think you basically have to do to him what Kansas did to Jared Butler. Just throw guys at him the whole night, make everything he does difficult, and try to make other guys on that team beat you. But remember, there are other guys on that Oklahoma State team that can beat you, especially if Isaac Likely's back on the floor this week. Rondell Walker's playing well. Matthew Alexander Moncrief has had a couple of double-doubles recently. They've got a really good collective young team there at Oklahoma State that's going to keep trending up even after Cade Cunningham goes to the NBA. But I think ultimately Baylor's going to win that game because I think by then they'll have another game under their belt. And they'll start resembling the team that we saw before they took the pause.
Well, I hope so. Matthew Postins, thanks so much for joining us today from Heartland College Sports. No Bear game since we've gone remote. Can you believe it? You get a free pass this week.
All right. I'll be ready next week. Don't worry about that.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have them all back and ready for you next week. Again, thanks for joining the show and breaking down things across the Big 12. Always great to have you on.
All right. Thanks, man.
That was Matthew Postins with Heartland College Sports, talking Baylor men's basketball and things across the Big 12. All right, we're going to hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to hear from Scott Drew in the postgame after the loss against Kansas on Saturday. And then we'll hear from Kim Mulkey breaking down the Big 12 championship victory for her Lady Bears that took place also on Saturday, and they will preview Texas. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong, are you there? Are you out there, Armstrong?
I'm here.
Armstrong Sims is also on Uptempo today. He's alive in the void. How you doing?
Sorry, I'm doing well. I just had some food delivered. Trying to live the life. Hold down the fort.
Wow, good. That makes me happy. All right, we'll be right back after this break. This is Uptempo.
It was a huge weekend in Baylor athletics with nearly a dozen teams in action. Starting on the court, Baylor men's basketball suffered their first loss of the season in a 71-58 defeat at Kansas, where the Jayhawks dominated the glass in the inside game. On the women's side, the Lady Bears clinched at least a share of their 11th straight Big 12 championship in the Farrell Center with an 85-49 drubbing of Kansas State. They're back in action at Texas tonight. To the Diamond, Baylor baseball went 1-2 in Round Rock over the weekend with a 12-4 loss against Texas A&M, a 12-6 win against number 7 Auburn, and a 9-3 loss to number 25 Oklahoma. The softball team went 3-2 in the Lone Star Invitational, splitting 2 games with UConn, falling to Ole Miss 10-4, Mercy ruling Lamar 10-0, and knocking off number 25 Mississippi State 10-6. In track, Baylor's Casey Lightfoot won his 3rd straight Big 12 championship with a jump of 5.9 meters, and the women's 4x4 team swept the conference to take first place in the league. Acro and Tumbling kicked off their season as well this weekend for Baylor with a blowout win against Mary Hardin Baylor in Waco, 274-253. And the number 6 volleyball team swept their competition this weekend with a 3-0 win against North Texas and a gritty 3-2 win against Pepperdine. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Uptempo.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84, and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrap fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrap fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or wacocustommarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, welcome back into the makeshift Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den today. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong Sims is somewhere out there in the void. As we are talking about Baylor men's basketball today, breaking things down from across this weekend, across sports, and the women's basketball team plays today. That's right, women's basketball action. Kim Mulkey and company will be at Texas against Vic Schaefer and their squad. We got Scott Drew here in Maceo Teague post-game after the loss against Kansas on Saturday. Baylor men's basketball. This is game notes. It's some of the highlights. I'd say highlights from this weekend, some things that they put in the game notes. Number 1, Baylor men's basketball has lost for the first time since Up-Tempo became a show. That's right. Yep, they were killing it. Things were going so well as soon as Up-Tempo started, and then Saturday night, things just didn't really pan out. Baylor's 18-game win streak has snapped. It was the second longest in program history behind last season's Big 12 record 23-game win streak. Baylor's 18-game win streak tied the 4th longest winning streak of any team in Big 12 history. Their 10-game Big 12 winning streak was the second longest in program history, the 4th longest in any conference. Baylor is still the nation's best 10-2 against AP top 25 teams over the last 2 seasons, including 4-1 this season. Baylor's streak of 9 consecutive wins away from home was snapped. It was the Bears' first loss away from home since March 7th, 2020, almost a year ago. That was at West Virginia. Baylor scored a season-low 58 points. Its previous low was 67 in the win against TCU in January. Baylor is now led by at least 4 points in all 49 games since the start of the 2019-2020 season. Then you have Baylor had not trailed inside the final 4 minutes of any game this season prior to Saturdays. And Jared Butler ties Brady Heslip for 23rd on Baylor's all-time scoring list. And then Mark Vidal, 722 career rebounds, tied Corey Jefferson for 10th on Baylor's all-time rebounding list. In the loss to Kansas, 71-58, Baylor dropping to 18-1, 10-1 in Big 12 play. David McCormick was the guy for Kansas, 20 points on 8 for 10 from the field, only 3 rebounds, but that's because Wilson put up 14 rebounds himself. Jalen Wilson was an unbelievable rebounding animal on Saturday, and that hurt Baylor. Yeah, I tell you what, we've talked about it. When Baylor faces a good big man or a team that can rebound, they're going to struggle. And they not only struggled, but fell against Kansas on Saturday. We've got Scott Drew breaking things down in his post-game press conference with Maceo Teague here.
At the end of the day, I mean, they came up here, they outplayed us in certain aspects of the game, and we lost.
You feel like you guys are still trying to get your legs under you? They had a big rebounding edge.
Still like they out-toughed us on the glass. We lost the glass by 20. We got to be tougher than that. We just got to be better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Maceo, I mean, David McCormick was such a non-factor against you guys down in Waco last month, and he got going real fast. How much of an impact was that for you guys tonight to deal with him?
He did a great job finishing around the rim. He probably went 80%. I don't know what he finished with, how many rebounds and anything like that, but he seemed like he played a pretty good game. And I feel like he was the difference tonight.
Maceo, you had a sequence late in the second half where you hit back-to-back triples, and then you had the and one. Can you take me through what you were seeing of the defense over that stretch?
I think that was the one somebody drove. I was in the corner, and I just hit one, so I said I was going to shoot it when the ball was in the air. Shot it. He hit me. I fell on the ground. That was pretty much it.
And what was the key for Kansas, being so effective on the offensive glass? Felt like they got a lot of second chance points. Was it as simple as just needing to be tougher?
No, I think we were in a lot of rotations. Bigs weren't boxing out bigs with guards, and the guards only gonna win so many of those battles. So we got to do a better job at the stand in front of the ball. The guards do.
Next question from Kendall Kaut with Our Daily Bears.
Maceo, you all didn't shoot as well as you normally do from the perimeter. Do you feel like that was something Kansas did, or just you all missing some shots you normally make?
Missing shots. I mean, it happens. Over the course of the season, you're not gonna make whatever we shoot. I think we're shooting like 46 from 3 as a team. I don't really know, but I saw a stat saying something like that. Now, you're not gonna shoot 46 every night.
Well, I thought Kansas did what you're supposed to do on senior night, and that is compete and send the seniors out the right way. So give them credit for that. I thought they really did a great job on the glass, and that's the worst we've been beaten on the glass all year. And obviously, you're not going to beat a great team with that kind of rebounding deficit. So kudos to them for that. And we got to get better in that area. And then I thought I was really proud of us to only have 3 turnovers. That was the positive, the bright spot. But obviously, shooting-wise, wasn't our best display. Kansas deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think as we continue to get back and get our legs under us, hopefully we can shoot it better. 6 for 16. We haven't shot like that all year from the free throw line. And, again, you got to make free throws if you want to win tough games.
Scott, did y'all kind of expect them to go to McCormick a lot tonight?
Well, when they've won their games in the Big 12, he's had 15 or more points. So we did a really good job on him the first time. This time they did a better job getting him the ball, and we didn't do as good a job making it tough for them to get it to him. So 20 points is on cue when they usually win.
And Jonathan, he played, but limited minutes. I guess obviously is he still just trying to get his legs back under him?
Yeah, you sit for 21 days. It's hard to do much. So it's a process.
Hey, Scott, what have you seen from McCormick this year in terms of how much he's improved? And can you recall maybe a guy making as big a jump from like beginning of year to now as he's made?
I think I'm sure there are guys that have made as big a jump, but let's give him credit for really helping Kansas, especially with the last, 6 games that they've really been playing at a high level, and they've done a great job getting him the ball, but he really has done a great job in being strong, demanding it, being physical, finishing. 8 for 10 in a high-level game, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And he's improved his passing as well.
What do you think the biggest ways that the 3-week pause has affected you guys? Is it energy, conditioning? Is it swagger? Is it just on-court chemistry? Or how would you describe it?
Well, I think, first of all, anyone that's had COVID would know that when you come back, you're probably not 100%. So that would probably entail people that had COVID. For people that didn't, that weren't able to practice or work out, then I would think that's rust and other areas of that. And then the last thing is it's a chemistry game. Just like football, you can work out with quarterbacks and running backs all you want till you work out with the line and the receivers, and the timing it's a timing game too. And then at the end of the day, you got to make shots. And normally when the legs go, it's hard to make threes. And we're 6 for 26. It's hard to make any shots for 6 for 6 from the free throw line. So that'll all come. And we'll get back to getting back into that rhythm. But again, I mean, 2 + 2 = 4. And a lot of people go on pauses, but they might not have people that have COVID. And if that's the case, if they're working out every day, they don't have snowstorms, they're practicing, their comeback time is a lot quicker than other teams. So I think every team goes through a different reason for a pause.
But mentally, though, I mean, do you still see that toughness and swagger in your guys? Has it kind of rattled them all?
No. Definitely think that our guys are I mean, we didn't quit. And when we had chances, I think what was it, down to 5 or 7? And I thought we were right there. And then they drew a foul, and I thought the game kind of that was the turning point as far as our comeback point.
Yeah.
Scott, Jared obviously had a rough night. He's had some great games against Kansas. Do you credit Marcus, or was this just an off night for Jared?
Well, first, you got to give credit to Marcus. Second, our staff, we got to do a better job putting him in better positions. And third, you're going to have nights where you don't shoot it well. And that was tonight.
And Scott, with how good you all have been at 3-point shooting all season, is that something you want to continue to do throughout the game, even if it's kind of struggling like it was tonight?
Oh, well, I mean, we were the number 1 shooting team in the country, and we'll get back to that. But even Superman has kryptonite, and I guess COVID protocols is ours.
Scott, getting back to Butler for a second too, but it seemed like every time, especially in the second half, when he caught the ball, he faced a double team, and one of those was McCormick on it, where he had to give it up pretty quickly there. Could you sense that was one of the adjustments that Bill made on him?
Well, the one thing is they're putting 2 on the ball, a lot more on ball screens by having the big be up higher. But I thought with Jared, they even had 3. They did a great job of Jared Butler awareness, and we didn't do a good enough job putting him in position where we could pass out of that and hurt him with buckets.
Were you surprised, Scott, just how vast the difference was in the rebounding war? I mean, it seemed like every loose ball, and even on just some garbage rebounds that Kansas was able to get that. Were you surprised, though, how wide that margin was? Yeah,
I'll be honest. That was 2 things really surprised me. 1, 3 turnovers for us, because anytime you go on the road against any quality team, and Kansas had the number 2 defense in the conference coming in, but to have 3 turnovers, that's remarkable for us. And then the second thing was the rebounding margin, 48-28.
Yeah, Coach, you guys were fighting back from behind the whole game. I was just kind of curious what your thoughts were on your players' body language, good, bad, or indifferent, throughout the course of the game.
Well, you're gonna have better body language, hopefully, when you're up, but you don't want bad body language when you're down. And I felt like we stayed together. I know I got frustrated at different parts of the game, but wasn't necessarily with us. It was with other things going on in the game. But I thought the guys competed, stayed together, and I mean, if you're not locked in like this, we wouldn't have had a chance down the stretch. And again, when I mean the chances, I thought whatever it was at 5 or 7 points, I thought there was a foul on Maceo, and I thought at that point kind of our run subsided. But up to that point, I mean, I thought we were right there, and we made runs, they made runs, and we know it's college basketball. I mean, 19-point deficits in the Big 12 get erased all the time.
And the league is so deep and it's been well documented, but the last 3 games that you guys have, how do you refocus the team on, the next game for West Virginia and then beyond Oklahoma State, Texas Tech?
Oh, well, I mean, we're definitely, it's easy to focus after you haven't been able to do anything for 3 weeks, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to be successful either. So we'll be excited to play. We love the opportunity to be back on the court. Obviously, we enjoy winning more than losing, but so does the other team we're facing. So we'll continue to get better. And, again, hopefully when we get back to where we were condition-wise, chemistry-wise, hopefully we'll be a fresher, better team on the back end of things.
That was Scott Drew and Maceo T coming off of the loss on Saturday against Kansas. A 13-point loss for those guys in Lawrence, Kansas. Breaking down tonight, women's basketball, Kansas State. We already had Doug on earlier breaking things down. The game in Austin. How about that, you guys? Doug Feinberg, solid stuff from him. And tonight you've got Baylor and Texas. Vic Schaefer, the new coach at UT, and the Lady Bears walk into this one at 19-2 overall, 14-1 in conference play, far removed from that loss against Iowa State earlier this year. And then you got Texas. 16-7 overall, 10-6 right now. They're still fighting for a shot to compete in the NCAA tournament. Lady Bears, 9 straight wins over Texas. They've won 24 of the last 25 games against the Longhorns. Kim Mulkey, 35-11 versus that squad in her tenure, but Texas leads the all-time series 58-44. Texas and Baylor Arena is just 101 miles apart. 2 very close programs. Kim Mulkey, Vic Schaefer. The coaches know each other well. Texas had moved on from Karen Aston, who was their head coach last season. And now it's Vic Schaefer, the Vic Schaefer Show, who was so good at Mississippi State, trying to lead Texas the same way that he did Mississippi State. All right, we got Kim Mulkey breaking down things for the Big 12 Championship, 11 consecutive titles. They continue the nation's longest streak of consecutive regular season conference championships Saturday when they clinched a share of their 11th straight win over Kansas State. The victory marks the 12th regular season Big 12 championship in program history, and the Lady Bears have rattled off 11 straight since 2010-2011. Baylor's 11 straight titles mark tied for 5th in NCAA Division I women's basketball history for consecutive championships. The Lady Bears have 3 games remaining and need just 1 victory to take the outright title tonight against Texas. Then they go to Kansas and play West Virginia at home in their season finale on March 8th. This from Kim Mulkey on Saturday, and the Lady Bears 11th straight Big 12 title.
We're getting emotional after the game, saying you can't enjoy the rainbow without experiencing the rain. What were those emotions like for you after going through everything this year?
It just hits you in that moment, and it's such a simplistic statement. I think Dolly Parton said it, that if you're going to enjoy that rainbow, you're going to have to go through the rain. And I've, in 35 years of coaching, have never coached under these circumstances. It's scary. It's frustrating. And yet I think of those kids that were in that corner over there with their championship hats on, and they just kept playing. Whatever was asked of them, they just kept doing it, kept playing, fought through COVID quarantining. Imagine telling 18, 19, and 20-year-old college students, you can't socialize anymore. Now think about that. All of you that have gone to college, you go to bar rooms to hang out, you go to clubs to dance, you go to friends' houses to celebrate. They can't do that. So we forget about all those rules and protocols and regulations. We just come out here and see masks on the sideline and chairs spread out. They have no life once they leave the gym. And to think that they can continue to focus on basketball under those circumstances and win another championship, very, very special.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at all those trophies lined up there like they do, what do you think when you see all of them? Wow. I think back to 2000 when we took this, when
when I say we, my staff's pretty much the same staff that came with me with a lot of additions, but we were at the bottom of the Big 12 when we took this job. And we took baby steps. We celebrated every little thing. We celebrated when we knew we couldn't have a losing season. We celebrated when we beat our first ranked opponent. We celebrated when we won our first road game. You had to do those things in order to build a program and to build confidence. And I thought about that very first year when I hugged Danielle Crockram after the game. She did our television today. And she was on that very first team, and the happiness, she just tears in her eyes when that team in 2000 went to the first NCAA tournament. And that was big to us, just getting to the tournament the very first year, when the previous year they won 7 basketball games. I've celebrated every year. I've never looked back on a season and said, man, that was a disappointing year. I had some disappointing losses through my career, but when you step back and you think about what we've done in 21 years, coaches are not blessed to have that many great players come through a program.
And when you talk about clinching outright, you got, as you mentioned earlier, a game in 2 days. How do you transition from confetti and cutting down nets to that?
Seniors lead you. They've done this before. They've been in this position before. And we celebrate today. We had an early game, which will help us get off of our feet. And it's a quick turnaround. This game was put in there. It was not originally scheduled. The Monday game was. So get off of our feet, come back tomorrow, head to Austin, scouting report, get on the floor, change your whole mindset about how we're going to defend people, how we need to attack them and their defense, and go play. So we're not looking past Texas. We didn't look past K-State today. And I think we have been a program that anybody that plays in this program will tell you we live for the team we play next. And we put just as much effort into scouting reports no matter who we're playing.
Excellent. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And Coach, for you, obviously this is you've won multiple Big 12 titles. Coach Drew and the men have an opportunity to win their first championship tonight. What would be the advice that you would impart to them before their game?
First of all, you're going to win it. Relax. Don't look at that Iowa State game. That's how everybody that comes off quarantine and not playing. Look at our Iowa State. We're away from the floor for a week, and you saw what happened. So relax, play your game, and when you win that thing, celebrate and enjoy it, because championships are hard to come by. And we're all pulling for them. And I know that, it's not like winning it here where your fans can watch and see, but if they win it tonight, come back here. They've got Tech. They've got Oklahoma State. I just know how hard it is to win, and we're pulling for them. We're happy for
them. Dee, I'll start with you on Texas. Kind of what you remember from that first matchup, and particularly the job that you guys and Alyssa in particular did on Charlie Collier.
I think what I remember from last Texas game was that our post played outstanding defense on Charlie, and even on Audrey or whoever was the 4 player. I think they did well at helping each other out. So I'm just hoping that they do the same thing. If our posts get going, then our guards are going to get going. So it's just exciting to see when they're going the way they are.
And Kim, for you, it seemed like Queen guarded the other player that game, but her, like you mentioned, her post defense has gotten so much better since that first matchup with K-State.
Well, it's because she did guard Charlie some, and she did guard the other big post player. And Queen's always going to get the assignment of the post player that's, going to be in the paint area the most. And they're different styles. So she's had to guard the athletic post. She's had to guard the back to the basket post. She's had to do a little bit of all of it. And it's just good to see her focus now. I told her in practice yesterday, she hardly missed a shot in practice, and she had this seriousness about her that, Queen's a happy person, and she always wants, to just talk. And I just said, when you can just come for 2 hours and listen and focus, Queen, I don't know what you did today, but whatever it is, do it again, every day. And then she carried it over to today. I know her parents were here. They don't get to see her play very much, and what a good day for her to have a good day.
Kim, obviously you've faced him before, but are you seeing Vic's impact in that program yet?
Well, yes, in that these kids are playing hard. I'm sure Vic would tell you that, it's not his style yet because it's, he's inherited players. And so when you inherit players, sometimes you don't keep all of them and you bring in your own recruits. So when he's been there 2, 3, 4 years, I think any coach will tell you start feeling like you're more comfortable and those players are more comfortable. Anytime you're a new coach, things change for him and for the players.
All right, welcome back into the makeshift Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. That was Kim Mulkey talking a little bit of Baylor women's basketball, prefacing their game against Vic Schaefer and the Lady Longhorns tonight, and recapping 11 straight Big 12 championship wins for Mulkey and the Lady Bears. Unbelievable run of wins right here in Waco for Baylor, and they will try to clinch the outright Big 12 championship tonight against UT in Austin. All right, little miniature SicEm Pick'em action right here. I'm going to give you guys my picks for the day as a couple of these are about to start. Still looking at this UCA Stephen F. Austin game. I don't know if I like over 155. I think that's what I'm going to go with. Over 155 in that one. I like Dayton plus 7.5 against the Bonnies, the St. Bonaventure, but St. Bonnie money line if you want to add it to something. Miami plus 15 is a good pick in my book tonight. There's the High Point game against Winthrop. Winthrop minus 12.5 is a great pick in if you're taking anything there. The money line on Campbell against Gardner-Webb at home. Give me Campbell. That's my pick of the day right here is Campbell on the money line and an upset victory at home against Gardner-Webb. Upset. It really wouldn't be. I don't know what Vegas is doing in that one. Maybe they know something that I don't. Rutgers and Nebraska. You've got Rutgers minus 8 tonight against Nebraska. I like plus 8, but a Rutgers money line is not a terrible move in that game. It's close. That's close. I'd probably stay away from that one. North Carolina and Syracuse. Syracuse in a money line upset. UNC a 2-point favorite. I like the Qs plus 2 or even on a money line upset. Houston Baptist and Stephen F. Austin. I like Stephen F. Austin. It's Sam Houston State. I like Houston Baptist plus 10.5 in that one. Other games across the slate here. Pine Bluff and Jackson State. Give me Jackson State minus 11 tonight in that one at home. Oklahoma State. I like revenge. Brady Manick and company get things done against Oklahoma State. The over hits at 142.5 easily, and Oklahoma wins on the road against OSU in a revenge game. Arizona and Oregon. Oregon minus 4.5. I like Oregon minus 4.5. I like Oregon to win the game outright on a money line as well. And then Air Force and Colorado State. Colorado State 18-point favorites. I don't like it, Bob. I don't like it. I do love the over, though. Hammer the over at 133.5. Air Force plus 18 if you gotta. All right, celebrity birthdays. Yeah, I got the table bell today. I had to make sure I had the table bell. Armstrong, are you there?
I am here, yes.
All right, celebrity birthdays here on the board today. All right, number 1. Justin Bieber. It's Justin Bieber's birthday today, Armstrong. Yeah. Oh, yes way. I'm not even lying to you.
Oh, man. How old is Justin Bieber? I'm going to say he's 27.
Hey, Armstrong, 1-0 today.
Is
what
that
a way
real?
to start.
Wow,
Justin Bieber, it is real. Justin Bieber's 27 today. Kesha. It is Kesha's birthday. TikTok.
Yeah, Kesha. I'm going to go 40?
34. She's older than I thought she'd be. 34. I think 40. 40 was a good guess there, though. Tyreek Hill. It's Tyreek Hill's birthday. Happy birthday, Tyreek Hill. How old's Tyreek Hill?
He's younger. 27. I'm going to go same as Justin Bieber.
Oh, my goodness. Tyreek Hill and Justin Bieber born on the same day. March 1st of whatever year that would have been. What a huge day.
What a day.
What a day. man, I get into these. Here's the deal. The website that I use just has a bunch of really weird people.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, he's still alive. Harry Belafonte's birthday is today. He was going to be in Dead or Alive tomorrow. He's not actually, because I want him to stay alive. How old is Harry Belafonte? Do you know who that is?
No.
If you don't, I'll blow your mind. Deo. Yeah, that guy,
Okay.
Harry Belafonte. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, but I'm going to give a guess.
Wait a second. Come on.
Depending on the...
You ever do a baseball game and they play Deo?
Yeah, I do know that.
That's Harry Belafonte. He does the 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot munch. You've never seen Beetlejuice?
No.
You were a disappointment.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry to disappoint you today, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess like 88.
94. Happy birthday to Harry Belafonte. And then the last one I'll give you here, Shahid Afridi, cricket player.
The cricket player, of course. 35.
He's kind of famous. Oh, he's 41 today.
You can be older and play cricket.
You can be a little bit. Maybe he's retired. You know what? I got to be honest with you. I don't know very much about him.
I don't know very much about him either.
Okay. How about this day in sports history? The 5th Grand National. Tom Oliver aboard 12-1 Vanguard wins first year race run as a handicap.
1967.
Oh, 1843. What is the Grand National? Is that a horse race?
Man, I was off by only 120 years.
This says John Tasker wins aboard race favorite Borton. What is the Grand National?
Well, Texas it was the Republic of Texas when that happened.
Yeah, not a state. It was a country, its own country, basically. Major League Baseball Rules Committee says that the pitcher's mound must not be more than 15 inches higher than the baselines or home plate. In what year?
1937.
1903. Okay. National Baseball Commission prohibits giving mementos to players on winning World Series teams. Decision later reversed, making way for traditional winners matches, watches, rings, and stick pins. So basically, you couldn't get a ring. They made the rule. They were like, hey, if you win a World Series, you get nothing. Okay. In what year?
In the year 1903.
1910. 1903 was a crazy year, though. Pakistan and India play out a draw in the 5th cricket test at the National Stadium in Karachi. Yeah.
1964.
1955. Oh, you were so
I said 19, close. You're like, oh, you're there. You're right there.
The Five Nations Rugby Championship match between Scotland and Wales at Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh attracts a world record attendance of 104,000 people, and the Scots win 12-10.
2012?
1975. Okay. And let's see where we want to end this. Yeah, MLB Commissioner Bob Manfred sends a strong message on the issues of domestic violence, issues the 30-game suspension to Aroldis Chapman in what year?
In the year 2017.
2016. Oh. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims. This has been Up Tempo. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Oh, what a day. Day 1 of the week remote. Is day 2 of the week remote too?
Day 2 of the week is remote.
Yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow from the Petty Clinic Low T remote dens. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims. This has been Up Tempo.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.